Voices drift on winds untamed, words like spells that can't be named. Close your eyes and feel the sound. Journey where no bounds are found. Open doors inside your mind. Leave the ordinary far behind. Colors swirl and stars align. In the meta mysteries you'll find.
Welcome to Meta Mysteries, where you don't know what you don't know. My name's Jonathan.
I'm Sean.
And today we have two awesome guests. One, I don't know, it's your 10th or 11th time coming on the show. Lord Byron, welcome back to the show, my good brother.
That's good, man. How you guys doing?
Awesome.
Hanging in there, man.
I feel like this is my home away from home, you know?
Indeed,
Dude, come on
Excited
in. The
for
water's
tonight.
always warm, dude. And also, we have a new guest, Eric Koetting. Welcome to the show, sir. How are you tonight?
Dude, I'm doing spectacular. Thanks so much for having me on. It's awesome to chat with you guys.
Hell yeah. Well, look, Lord Byron has talked a lot about you, and you guys have teamed up, and we're really looking forward to hearing about, really just you and everything that you practice, all the different kind of things that you're into. I'm not trying to label anything, so I'm trying to like dance around it. But that being said, I mean, would you mind telling us a little bit about yourself and what your deal is, sir?
Yeah, for sure. Absolutely. Well, my name's Eric Koetting. My author name is E.A. Koetting. I've written around 30 plus books on Magick. And so when I say magic, dude, I try to approach it from every angle: black magic, white magic, purple and yellow, and everything in between. And it is really hard. It is hard to stay away from labels, because I'll fall into it every now and again. I'll live life as a Satanist and be fully into it, and the next thing you know, I'm summoning the Archangel Michael and running with that. But I do think that's the real magical path, is just touching. That's my magical path, at least. I want to touch everything I see. I'm like, oh, that's cool, let me play with that and unbox it and see what's there. And so I do that with every magical practice I've ever been able to get my hands on. Since I was a kid, I started learning just Wicca and all of that stuff. Got my hands on the Necronomicon, and that was a game changer. I was like, oh, I'm going to summon some stuff, and started summoning some stuff. That really blew the hinges off the doors for me. And really what that did for me is that really solidified evocation, the summoning of spirits, as one of my primary practices. Because as soon as I started tapping into the Watchers, to Enki, it's like the books become stupid. It's like, why would I even read a book when I can just ask the dude himself? Right. And so that became my big practice, is spirit communication, spirit summoning. And so started writing books about it. Started doing a YouTube multimedia assault, where I was for several years just throwing as many videos as I could on YouTube. And my goal with that was to try to change the way people think about magic, and specifically the left-hand path, to maybe take the covers off of it and go, we're not here doing crazy stuff to kids. We're not doing the crazy stuff that the rumors say, but here is actually what it could be. Here's my path. And so that was cool. I got canceled off of social media a couple years ago. Had a guy that he wasn't associated with me at all in any way. That he didn't buy my books. He didn't watch my videos. He didn't really interact with me. He killed a couple ladies, but he had gone a couple years before he did this onto my forum.
Damn.
And so BBC made this whole link between me and him, canceled me online. That's okay. That was actually, for me, that was a reset. That was an opportunity for me to actually look at my practice and go, you know what? Am I doing this because I want people to click that like button, or am I doing this because this is who I am? And I really had to just get back to the core of, like, what's my practice about? Who am I as an actual sorcerer? And get back to the core of that. And that's just, it's been carrying me solid ever since. So that's who I am. That's what I'm about. My big mission is to kind of act like a lightning rod, go experience some crazy stuff, get zapped by whatever I get zapped by. And then if I have something, try to find something I can report back to the world and go, hey, Like here's what I came up with, and I do try to bring it back to practices. Like it's not, I don't want to come back and be like, here's what I saw on the other dimension. That's useless. I want to tell you how to get to the other dimension and see your own stuff, to have your own experiences. So
That's the most important thing.
that's me in a nutshell, guys.
No, I love to
Great.
hear about it. First of all, it's awesome that you just called yourself a sorcerer. That is probably one of the most gangster titles ever, is just being a sorcerer. But yeah, I'm the fact that you've written how many books? You said 30 books on Magick?
Over 30 at this point. Over 30. Yeah, I started out, so when I was about 23, I got my girlfriend pregnant. And my whole life changed because I was just on a crazy path. Didn't know what I was doing with my life, just picking up whatever job I could, sleeping on people's couches. And then boom, somebody shifted the track I was on, and boom, I shifted it, I guess, by my own choices, shifted the track I was on, and really took being a dad seriously. And part of that was like, you know what? If I'm going to do something with my life, it's time I start doing it. And I've always talked about being a writer. And if I'm going to get serious about it, let's get serious about it. And so sat down and started writing my first book, sent that out, started writing my second one, and just kind of started rolling it ever since then. It really hit me. It was a weird thing. Like, I feel like it was a biological thing that after I had reproduced, that there was something in me going like, the next step for you is death. You're going to raise this child and then you die. And so your biological mission has been fulfilled with reproducing. Now, anything else you want to get done, you better get working on it, bud.
Oh, that's awesome. So you, all right. So a couple of different things. I see that you got Mjolnir hanging from your neck right there, along with a couple of Viking runes there on your shirt. Is that something that you also dabble into as far as like trying to get in touch with the Norse gods?
Yeah, and I would go even much further than dabbling. I've got a whole area in my backyard. I'm blessed to have a really cool property in southern Utah, in the middle of nowhere, and so I've got a spot in my backyard where I've got a whole runic setup. I've got a huge rune stone that I've made there, and I'll go out and I've got an offering altar that'll go out and commune with the gods. They are the gods of my ancestors, and so I can feel that pull in my blood. And when I was like 16, 17, I picked up my first rune set just from the store. Fell in love with it, but got sidetracked with tarot and with spirit evocation and whatever. And so it's funny because I feel like with runes and all of that, it kind of works like that. I'll kind of forget about it. I'll put it down. And then a couple years later, boom, it just loops back around. It's like, hey, remember me, old friend? And pick it back up and start using it again. But I do feel it's in my blood. And so I can't escape it, even if I wanted to. But yeah, it's a huge practice with working with the Norse gods and working with the runes. It's a different thing than working with any other kind of magic, because it's not, you're not calling Odin in front of you. You're going and walking out into the wilderness and trying to have Odin walk alongside you, or maybe even walk within you and become Odin to a degree. You don't necessarily call on the elves. You don't summon them. You go out into the forest and you start to see them in the trees. You start to see to hear strange things. You start to see sparkles as the light comes down. It's like you commune with nature in a different way. I do feel like the Norse path, the Celtic path also has this, is a deep tie. Native American paths, of course, have a deep tie back to the earth that we've lost. Like as a species or a civilization, we need to get back to that. We need to take our shoes off and get back into the dirt,
100%. And I'm so happy you said it the way that you did, because we've talked about essentially embodying the essence of said gods or deities or whatever, that you're not necessarily reaching who am I to say what you are or what you aren't doing? But just from, our understanding is that you're almost like embodying their essence in a weird way, which is, very interesting. You would expect that, if you're communicating with gods, that they would be alongside you, or they would be, pointing in a direction from the sky or something like that. But it's very different as far as our understanding as magic goes. And that's something, we can attribute that to Lord Byron, first of all, for introducing us to a lot of magic and helping us understand, a lot of his practices and how it works and everything like that. But I would say that, as far as our magical understanding, it is basically because of Lord Byron and the book by Philip Cooper called The Magician. We always reference that book like that.
Yep.
Have you dabbled into that book?
I mean, years ago, I know I came across it and read it, but I don't know that I've even kept it on my bookshelf.
Okay, yeah, I highly recommend anybody that wants to try and understand magic a little bit more. That book right there really broke it down to where even a fourth grader could understand in a weird way.
It made it simple enough for you and I to really catch on to it. And then we had Byron on, and he was like validating everything that we had just learned and come to the understanding of how some of these things work, and working with the mind and using the different modalities of the different tools or instruments, if you will. And it was just like, oh, this is all starting to come together. It's like, and I like how you were saying in the beginning, as far as you kind of dabbling in all of the different types of magic. And Jonathan and I were just talking earlier today about, putting things in a box and labeling things. And I think that's where we get slowed down just a little bit, because you get so locked into one idea, and then you're really limiting yourself to everything else, and so I respect that.
Well, and just as far as like we recently covered eccentric witchcraft. Is it not eccentric? Eclectic.
No.
Eclectic witchcraft, and that is something that it's seemingly very embodying everything, essentially, like taking a little bit from here, taking a little bit from there, taking a little bit from religion and philosophy and magic and every single thing all together. And that just seems like, I mean, if you were one of the original people that were practicing a religion or practicing a spirituality or something like that, you wouldn't have anything to run off of. You would have just whatever is around you, the information and the tools around you to use and to try and maybe manipulate the energy around you, or call upon said ghosts or deity or demon or angel or whatever. You know what I mean? Like, it wouldn't be so strict because you would be the first one that would be doing it, right? And that's kind of how my mind went, is that like the original witches were probably eclectic.
Right. I do this little thought experiment with myself of everything. So I've got a daily yoga practice I do. I've got a bunch of different practices that I keep going, and with all of them, I try to bring it back to this thought. So in yoga and Buddhism, there's all these teachings about these old monks that would go live in a cave for 40 years. They're living in a cave, meditating and chanting, and the birds are bringing them food to eat and all this stuff. And so I bring it back to there. If I was all by myself, I didn't have any technology, and I was in a cave, what would I do? How would I do this? How would I make this magic work? Because there's so much over reliance people have on structure, and I've got to have the right color of candle, and I've got to have the right smelling incense. You don't need any of that. You can take a piece of mud. This is what chaos magic teaches you. Take a piece of mud, form it into whatever form you want, give it a name, worship it, and then ask it to do things for you, and it's going to do things for you. But that actually brings me back to the real nature of magic, is like you're saying with the proto magicians, the first magicians. For a very long time, magic was formulated out of necessity. That if you're going on a hunt, you want to guarantee that you're going to bring something home from that hunt. If you're banging your wife, you want to guarantee that's going to produce a child. And so everything that you're doing, if you want to give that extra punch, they needed to find a technology to allow us to succeed and to thrive. And I do believe that our spiritual capabilities is one of the things that gives us an advantage. And it's not only that you can feel things when you're hunting, that you can actually tap into things on a deep level, but you can also manifest the things that you desire if you're visualizing it right. Before we had created a wheel as a species, before we had created language, there were sorcerers gathered in caves that were chiseling, the elk that they want to go hunt to make sure that they could hunt it. And they would, we need 12 elk, so we're going to chisel 12 of them right here, and then we're going to smoke some of this that we've got here, and we're going to gaze at this and visualize it. And so it's like that. Before we had any technology, this was one of the first technologies that people started using. Now I'm going to go even further. I don't think that we just accidentally figured this stuff out. I think that it was given to us. I don't know. I like to think that some gods stepped in and handed us these tools, or maybe it was the past civilization, because I think there are multiple civilizations before us. But I don't think we just stumbled on this. This is a technology that was given to us.
Damn. Yeah, it does kind of make sense. And I mean, don't get me started. I'm a conspiracy theorist through and through. So whenever you talk about ancient, forgotten about civilizations, I'm all here for the Atlantis talk. I think you're onto something, dude. Like, as far as just how all of it works, like, it doesn't necessarily have to be so structured. I think, and this is something that even the Magician was talking about. It was just like, he goes, in the beginning, you want to make sure you got your sword and your chalice and your shield and your incense and your candles, and make sure you have your temple, and make sure nobody goes into your temple, because you have to know that that's yours. And all of those things are essentially symbols that you're going to use in your mind. You're not using them as a practice necessarily to perform any kind of ritual. So he talked about, all the different practices that he would use in essentially like take these symbols and being able to work with them in his mind. And he goes, after a while, you're not going to need any of that shit anymore. You're like, all you're going to need, all of that's going to be in your mind. You don't need to see a physical sword in front of you anymore, because now that sword is so permanently tattooed inside your mind that you can just go pick it up and grab it, And so, yeah, I agree with you that you don't necessarily need all that. It's just helpful kind of tools to help you to get to where you're going. Right.
Well, I'm actually going to go. It's interesting because I think everything moves in waves. It's not just one thing all the time. It's sometimes this and sometimes that. And so with that, when you first start out with all the different stuff, make sure you're really going hardcore into the physical, and then start eliminating it. To take the sword out. And I suggest the same thing of taking the tools out one at a time. What's the thing that feels like you don't really need it? Get rid of all of those things. And then get to the point, get rid of the circle. Get rid of the triangle, get rid of your words, get rid of everything until you're just standing there in blissful communion with the spirit. And so that's awesome. But then I do recommend, once you're kind of at a plateau with that, adding things back in. What actually feels necessary? What feels like it's going to add to the ritual? So I did an evocation of Michael a couple weeks ago, the Archangel Michael, and I just I did it all in my backyard, a huge elaborate ritual. And I was like, I want to have. I feel like I need, like, there wasn't much there. I had my book to take notes in. I had my incense. And the circle that I carved into the ground. And I'm like, I really don't have much though. And I feel like I should bring something, but it really hit me. Anything that you add, it can't just be because you want to add extra stuff. It needs to actually have a purpose. So if you can figure out the purpose. So what I actually got was a gong. I got a big old gong I brought out there, and I was like, I'm just going to hit this gong once, and that's going to set the ritual. And that was all I needed. And it was a perfect ritual. But why I'm saying this is the sword, it's not just a prop for your mind. It can also become an anchor of your power. And so if you have a physical tool, I've got swords on the wall behind me there, and most of them are magical, and they sit there doing whatever they're doing, whether I'm sleeping or playing video games or whatever I'm doing. My magical tools are always working on my behalf. And so it can act as a physical anchor for your energy. Another thing that I'll say is, I have noticed, if you're doing the ritual in your mind only, and I would call that mental or astral ritual, because maybe you are on the astral plane moving things, the result that you can expect is usually going to be a mental or an energetic or an emotional result. If you want to have a physical result, you've got to do some physical stuff. And so with the physical stuff, light some candles, light some incense, say the words out loud, actually develop the magical ecosystem in the space, and then transmit your will through the ritual. And then also go do the things in the world that you need to do. If you're going to do a wealth spell, you better be putting applications out. If you're doing a love spell, you better be, you know, brushing yourself up and going and approaching some hotties. So yeah, that's those are my thoughts on that.
Well, that goes into what you were saying as far as, you know, the whole embodying thing. You know, we were just covering this not too long ago, and it was so fascinating because it made so much sense. You know, if you're going to do a money spell, and you would probably want to embody the energy of somebody who is going out there and getting money. You know what I mean? It just makes too much sense, right?
Well, have you checked out the book Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill?
Jonathan always brings this up. Yep.
Oh, dude. Yeah. So when I was like 18, I started hanging out with some rich guys that did multi-level marketing, and they got me in a couple of their schemes, and I made a little bit of money. But more than anything, I was trying to figure out, like, how do you become that person? How do you become the person that is comfortable with the nice home and the nice car and the nice lifestyle? Because I've always been poor. I've been homeless several times in my life. You know, I've used magic to pull me up out of the gutters, literally. And so I'm looking at this going, what's the secrets behind this? And everybody kept turning me over to Napoleon Hill, Think and Grow Rich. And so I read that book and I was like, all it's talking about is the way you think. Where's the actual like system? Where's the secret?
Where's the trick, right?
Yeah, and all my mentors kept telling me, no, that is the secret. You got to tune the way you think about things. You have to see yourself as being the person that you want to be. Start identifying, like, not just a nice car, what brand of car, and you know, what does the house actually look like? What does it feel like? And part of that is, you know. This is silly. That I feel silly for admitting this, but one of the things that I will do from time to time, if I need a series of breakthroughs in my life, is I'll sit down and do a vision board. You know, I saw this on Oprah when I was like in high school or something. My mom's watching Oprah in the other room, and I'm like, oh, I'm going to try this. And so go get a poster board, get a bunch of magazines, and cut out the pictures of the things that you want. And don't think about it. Just whatever you're drawn to, just cut it out, put it on the board. And then every day, pin that in your bedroom. So every day you look at it and just think about it and visualize yourself having those things. Dude, it's sick how this stuff just starts coming to you. The exact kind of car that I cut the picture out, like it was within a couple months, boom, that's the car that I've got in my hands. And I didn't even notice it until I looked back at the board. So yeah,
you shouldn't even feel silly talking like that. You know what I mean?
Not
Because
over
we
here.
all know that you can see things in the world, and maybe you're not consciously aware of that, you know. And I had a really weird experience, and we can get into that later, but basically my subconscious mind was noticing certain things that I was not fully aware of. And then I had some weird vision when I was taking a nap of some lightning and shit like that. And then I get up, and 2 hours later a storm rolls in, and there was a bunch of lightning. There was no way. I saw nothing with my conscious mind that a storm was coming, that you know, there was no clouds in the distance, nothing like that. And so somehow my subconscious mind was aware of what I wasn't. And so you, what is that called when you're Byron, I think you taught us this, but when you're seeing something throughout the day, and you're just, it's in your subconscious mind. But that doesn't sound silly to me at all, dude, to look at stuff like that. And it's kind of reprogramming your mind to expect to see these things even without you really knowing it.
It's almost like
you know, and so that's
like
magic in itself.
like a premonition at that point.
Yeah,
right?
Yeah, picking up on the omens is a super important thing, you know. That's something, especially filtering out something that's not just in your head and like actually like a synchronicity or an omen. You know, and that's like a fascinating phenomenon about this place, this realm, you know, because it's I mean, imagine what kind of mechanism would have to be for that many people in the world to be receiving these messages all the time from the environment, and how many people just don't even pay attention to it. But imagine the mechanism behind that. Like if it was like computer software, you know, like imagine, because everyone gets these, you know, it's not like we're the only ones.
Dude, it's not, you know, that's a crazy point. So excuse me, my fiance and I were hanging out in Vegas. I just live right over the border of Vegas, so it's a fun town to go hang out in. So we're hanging out in Vegas, and we're up in the hotel room doing a ritual for Hecate, the goddess of the underworld. And we walk out. As soon as we get on the street, we see this this fire, just boom, and this pitchfork comes up out of the fire, and it's just some advertisement for something. And it's like, I felt like I got transported into hell itself as soon as we saw that. It's like, what the heck? I'm like, and she goes, did you see that? That was like a straight sign. I'm like, yeah. And then we walk, and there's a bunch of keys that we see, and there's keys everywhere, which is another symbol for her. And just everywhere we're looking, it's like the world is just flashing with these symbols. So like Byron's saying, like this is a meta communication with the spirits you're working with and with your environment itself. And it does make you wonder about like the holographic nature of it, because it's doing this for everybody, but most people are just ignoring it. Most people don't even see the signs. But so I call this the voice of magic. The voice of magic. It can be just little signs that you see, you know, don't leave your wallet there, you're going to forget it, and then you forget your wallet. It's a little voice of magic. Every single time there's a choice. It's like a crossroads that you're facing. Are you going to dismiss it as an accident, or are you going to recognize it for what it is? If you recognize it for what it is, this doorway opens that makes more of those things happen. And so, and more of those things happen, and it becomes clearer. The voice gets super clear to the point that you'll see the answer to the question before you even bother to ask it. While you're thinking about the question, boom, you're like, oh, damn, okay, cool.
Dude, and this is something
it's like magic itself, you know, like leaves this like kind of calling card behind, you know, where it lets you know if someone's attacking you, or if your spell is working, you know, if things are going good, you know, like the magic itself has this way of like just leaving its residue behind.
Residue.
Just to inform you or anyone else, you know.
Dude, you know what's funny is that all right, so just to let all the one out there know, we actually had these two guys scheduled a few days ago to come on the show, and I double booked, and I didn't remember to jot it down in the calendar, and I was like, oh my god, of all people to leave like that, waiting in the balance, and I'm like, this guy's gonna do a fucking baneful magic spell on me. Like, this is the worst person to leave behind. I'm like, God, I hope he doesn't. And then you didn't reply back for a day or two, and I was like, oh shit, it's already happening. What's going on?
You started to feel sick and shit. You're like, what's going on?
Byron hit me up and said, should we curse these guys or what?
Yeah.
God damn it.
Well,
Anyway.
I'm happy you guys decided not to. Yeah. So Eric, you had mentioned about how the left-hand path kind of gets a bad rep. Can you explain what you mean by that?
Yeah. Okay. So we've got to go a bit far back and go back to India, because that's where the term the left-hand path comes from. It's understood that there's the right-hand path, that's the solar path, the path of the daytime, the things that are obvious in life, the obvious gods, the obvious practices, and then you have the left-hand path, the nighttime path. And so where the daytime path, the solar path, and the right-hand path is it's a masculine path. It's a path of aggression and work and doing things in the physical world. The nighttime path is more turning into the unconscious, turning into the unknown. It's a feminine path of opening yourself up to receive the mysterious, not necessarily be so much in control. And this has created a bit of a division when this idea came over. Madame Blavatsky brought this over with her, was it Theosophany? Theosophy. All right. Yeah. Well, she brought that over and imported the term left-hand path and right-hand path into that. She really did a disservice by saying the left-hand path is the evil, demonic side, the right-hand path is the good side, because that's not what it is at all. These are night and day. They're a perfect balance, and so that's gotten filtered through our Judeo-Christian society as left-hand path is demonic and bad. Demons are bad. Satanism is bad and evil, and obviously Christianity, which is responsible for more crimes and horrendous things to children and everything than anything we've ever seen before. That's the good side. And so it's like, so that same false division is really affecting the whole thing. Is the things that most of the time when a magician refers to a demon, they're not talking about something evil. They're talking about ancient gods that predate Christianity and Judaism. You look at Ningazita, the first serpent god, is literally just a serpent god, a giant serpent. Christians freak out about that kind of stuff. That's obviously evil, but that's one of the very first gods ever worshipped. And so when you go back further and further in time to our modern perception, filtered through a Judeo-Christian lens, it does look very evil. And so there is that. Now also there's an additional matter of people always wanting to scapegoat their problems. So anything that we don't want to admit that we have, it's easier than to admit we have problems than to just say, oh, these people over here, they're not of our tribe, therefore let's blame them. That's always kind of the pattern. And so those things kind of brought together do give Left Hand Path a bad name. That if anybody ever says they're working with black magic, it's automatically assumed that they're cursing people, or that they're manipulating, or that they're doing generally like bad, nefarious things. I would say that no, you're actually just tuning into the more mysterious, the darker, sometimes absolutely the forbidden things, and that is. I never. I understand why there are safeguards there. Don't call the worst of the worst demons, because he'll destroy your life. He might destroy your life. But I still like to call them. There's still value in calling them.
Right.
Oh yeah, dude. Yeah, it's that is so interesting to do that. And I was actually talking with somebody earlier that said, "Oh, I don't believe in spells." And I'm like, what do you mean you don't believe in it? Like you believe that it's not happening? Like you think that it's not working? No, I don't believe in any of that. And I'm like, what would be a spell that I could do to show you that it actually does work and that there is something truly behind it? And so I was just curious, and not to get too personal, you don't have to say anything you don't want to, but has there been like a ritual or a spell that you've done that you were like, oh my God, I can't believe it worked? Like, have you had a few of those instances?
Oh yeah, there are a couple of them that are so out there that I just won't mention them. But there are some that I'll look at just world headlines. I'm like, how can I want to read something on the New York Times headline. What's that going to be? And so I'll even, as soon as I got into radionics, it got real easy to do that, where I'd program specific phrases that I want to have pop open in the pop up in the world headlines, and then start seeing that phrase, boom, all over. And so playing little games with reality like that, for sure. I mean, look, I actually am going to take this to a more personal level, though. Is my daughter was, when she was like 1, maybe 2 years old, in between, when she's 1.5 years old, she got started getting really sick, heating up, and just we couldn't keep her temperature down no matter what we did. Every day we're having her at the doctor's office, and the doctor's running tests, can't figure it out, and it's going on about a week. And she's at this point, she's not keeping fluids down. As soon as she drinks anything, she's puking it back up. And we had her in the ER a couple times, and then they sent us home, and they're like, look, next time you come in, it's ICU time. And I was like, oh, okay, this is bad. So I actually call a demon that I've worked with a lot, King Paimon. He's great for making, getting my jobs to, whatever I needed, little things in the world I needed, he was always there. So I call him, he's like, hey, this isn't my realm. I don't do healing. And I'm like, what, see what you can do. And he's like, I'm telling you, I don't do healing. I was like, just do the best you can for me. She gets instantly worse, just starts plummeting. And so I call him back, and I was like, what the hell is going on here, dude? And he says, I told you I don't do healing. You need to go to the Archangel Raphael. And I was like, wait a minute, dude, you're a demonic king and you're telling me to go to an archangel? What's going on here? He goes, I'm telling you to go to the best person for the job. She's a child. He will heal her. And that is the thing. Cause like, if you're an awful person with all kinds of sin under your belt, angels might not heal you. But if you're a child, they can come through. So I call Raphael, didn't have a communication or a connection with him, just an understanding that his light was passing to her. Pretty much instant recovery. And then as her temperature's coming down and she's starting to get color in her cheeks again, get a call from the doctor. Just got the test results back. It's this and this. We know exactly what to give her. Just bring her in in the morning. If she's stabilizing, you should be good. Boom. It was clear sailing. And so for me,
wow,
it's like, it's fun to make little stuff happen in the world and to manipulate people and do that kind of stuff. But when the rubber meets the road, my daughter wouldn't be alive if it weren't for magic. And so that's the kind of stuff that blows my mind, that makes me grateful, that makes me humble. With it does make me humble. That's the thing. That's the thing that people don't really understand from the outside. This stuff does not inflate your ego. It does the exact opposite. It makes you go, oh man, I'm so small and this power is so big.
Oh my
That's incredible, man. Thanks for sharing that, dude.
Yeah, that's crazy, man. Just out of curiosity, I'm trying to understand like exactly how it works. Whenever you're saying that like you called him up, like what does that mean?
Yeah. No, thank you. Let's break it down. All right. So at that time, I'm living in a little apartment, just a second story apartment, and my wife at the time, ex-wife, she was tolerant of everything. She wasn't really into it herself, but she would tolerate all my rituals. She kind of had to. So I go in the living room and I lay down a this is so amateur, but I took a tape, just blue painter's tape, and just made a circle out of the blue painter's tape, made a triangle out of the tape, and then laid my incense in there, put just a bowl of incense. So with the incense, I'll use discs, just like hookah discs that I'll then put like resin on top of. And so I did that, got candles at each of the corners of the triangle, and then started heaping incense on there and calling out to King Paimon. And so with the calling out, I keep my invocations super simple, because what I'm trying to do, I'm not trying to get this flowery sounding good thing. I'm trying to get myself into a deep state with my eyes open, still functioning, but get my mind as low as I can. And so, King Paimon, come. King Paimon, come. And just continue that and just keep myself going lower and lower as I'm looking at the smoke. Now, what starts happening there, you can feel the presence of the spirit come into the room. You can feel like your body constricts a bit, like it feels like you've got a compression suit on that gets a little bit tighter. It gets a little harder to breathe, start getting a little dizzy, like it does feel like it's getting harder to breathe for sure. And then if you keep your eyes open, looking at the smoke, you're going to see strange things popping out of the smoke. A puff of smoke will look like a skull or look like a serpent, and those are cool symbols. But the real contact is happening behind the scenes, inside your mind. That keeping yourself in that low place. The very first time I called King Paimon, in my mind, it was a voice coming from above me saying, "Who do you think you are to have called me?" And I was like, "Oh crap! Oh no!" And the only answer for that is, it's not me. It's God who's calling you here. It's not me. It is Yod He Vav He. It is. You just go through different God names of what resonates for you, because you're not calling him as a human. You're actually invoking divinity within you. And so I go through that whole repetition, and he comes into a more comely form. But that is usually there's going to be strange phenomena flashing. I'll see visibly flashing lights, like the light in the room starts pulsing, and all of that. But it's almost like I treat anything that's happening with my eyes as a distraction from the inner thing that's happening, the communication that's happening within. Now, one actually big secret that I use to unlock it is this little rule here. If you want to get an answer, you have to ask a question. Because most of the time when you're sitting in that state, it's like, okay, Paimon, you're here. Thanks for coming. If you don't have anything to go on, it doesn't really build. You've got to build it with your questions. So I say, bring 3 to 5 good questions into it. And so just start out, who are you? You can have your first question. Who are you? What's your name? That's actually a good question to start with if you don't know the spirit, so it can talk a bit about itself. And then just build on it from there. But you'll ask the question out loud. And most of the time, the answer just starts popping off in your head, usually in an inner voice that's not your own. It's a very clear, different tone, a different everything, just injected into your mind. Now, one cool thing about it is you can pause it rewind it and play it forward exactly the same way. If you miss out what it's saying, if you're trying to take notes and you're like, whoa, back up. It'll, whatever's happening here, it is like it's playing a recording, because it'll go the exact same tone, not missing a beat, and it'll tell you the exact same thing again, almost like it's a pre-recorded message waiting for you to unpack it. And so that now when I'm saying most of the time it'll be this inner experience, I'm saying that because you do have these sideball phenomenons where I'll see the person, I'll see the spirit in front of me, and it'll shock me. Oh, yeah, and usually it won't be dead in front of me. It'll be right off to the corner. It'll be in the peripheral vision, and I can see every detail of them until I look. Or I'll hear something actually audibly and go, is somebody in the house or whatever? But most of the time, most of the communication is happening inner. But I'm going to tell you what, that is just one thing with magic. There's no one path for it. Everybody has their own unique path. So with that, I'd actually like to hear from Byron what his experience with evocation, spirit contact, and all of that is like, because he might have a completely different perspective.
Let's go.
Well, so just to frame it too, because I think this is, you kind of hinted at it before, how it's a big part of your magical practice. But before I get into some of my stuff, I just want to say, there's like these key moments in like the evolution of magic. Like Crowley was one of those. He was the guy that kind of first brought like yoga to the scene and all that stuff too. A lot of people forget about the whole yoga thing and how important that was. Then like Austin Osman Spare coming up with sigils, which later was with the chaos magic. Chaos magic blew a lot off the roof when it came to the development of magic, even the Satanic Bible. But one of those key moments in the evolution of magic, I think, comes predominantly from Eric and his emphasis and constant emphasis and breakdown of evocation. I think that's one of those things that I think there's a lot of people that don't even understand how important that is. That was at the time that you're emphasizing all of that, because like I've heard people say like they've tried Golden Dawn, OTO, Wicca, nothing worked until they found you. And not just little kids either. I mean, like people in their 40s and 50s, I've heard say that. And so,
well, let me sorry, just interrupt you real quick. And one of the big things that I feel like I was able to bring to the scene with spirit summoning was a breakdown of the elementary principles of evocation. And I'm not going to go through all of them, but I've got 7 elementary principles. In investing yourself in the spirit, working with a usable system. I've got these principles that is like, no matter what system you're working with, these always appear. And so make sure you do these. And if you do these, you're going to have a successful evocation. And sure enough, it is most magic works that way. It's a science that if you plug in the right details, you're going to get the result. But turn it back to you, Byron.
Yeah. So I just really want to kind of frame that real quick, because I think it's really important how important evocation is. That's like one of the main pillars of magic, and it's always been kind of a mystery, because you didn't just write books on it. You put out a course on it, and then just constantly talking about it in your live streams and your videos. I think that was super important in the evolution of magic. Like I said, I don't think you get the props you deserve for that. I think it went over a lot of people's heads how important that was.
He's a fucking sorcerer, dude.
Nothing great is ever created with the expectation of props. Like, you got to just do what you do. And some of my stuff flops. Some of my stuff, I'm like, oh, that was a shitty book. But some of it, sometimes you hit it, but you just got to keep doing your thing.
Yeah, totally. So what's the question? Like thoughts on like evocation and stuff.
What's the subjective experience for you like when you're working with the spirit? Is it, are you getting into, because I get into a really deep, like almost internal psychedelic state with it.
Exactly. Especially if I'm doing magic indoors, I try to do like a series of warm-ups and meditations and stuff and really activate everything. That helps a lot. I find like, let's say you warm up with like a chakra meditation, and do all that. I'll also activate the chakras in my hands and feet, but also my eyeballs. And I really feel like, when you're running a grounding course, every time you're breathing in, you got this energy coming from the earth up here. And then, the same thing coming from the cosmos. And then when you have the both your eyeballs and your third eye also activated, it makes it really in your hands and feet. So it makes it really easy to charge the sigil and really get into a magical state of mind. But as far as like communication goes, yeah, it's basically the same thing. Like it kind of depends on the spirit, because sometimes it's so profound where you can see everything crystal clear, and the back and forth is happening really fast and clear. But other times, like I said, like you were saying, it's an inner monologue, and it's usually like the first thing you hear in your head too when you're asking these questions and you're in this moment and stuff. A lot of beginners, they might struggle with that, and it might take them a while. Like they'll probably just get downloads as it goes on. But
so I'm sorry, not to cut you guys off real quick. When you are getting some kind of a message, is it like at all like a longer dialogue, or is it like a word or two? Because I feel like I've had experiences where I've heard some voice and it was just like one word, and I was like, "Whoa, where'd that come?" And it kind of freaked me out because it felt like I could actually hear it, and it was just one singular word. And so I just thought I'd get your thoughts on that.
I've got my evocation of Michael here. Was, let me see. So I say, do you have a message for me? I just open question, right? Do you have a message for me? He says, keep going. We almost lost you. And shit got dark for a minute there, and shit got real dark for me for a minute there. So he goes, we almost lost you. Never lose hope. Not because I am with you or some other helper helps you, but because you have yourself. Never lose hope. Keep going. So that was my message from Michael the Archangel, right? Wow. I just asked him to give a message for me. He's like, this is what, and so the way that appears to me is just keep going was the first thing. It's just boom, I understood. It just popped in my head. Keep going. So I write it down. And I was writing this as I'm getting the message. Keep going. As soon as I've got that written down, the next thing just starts coming. It just starts coming. And it gets to the point when you get used to it. Well, let me back up. Byron says it can be difficult for beginners. The difficulty is trusting yourself.
Yeah.
Just getting yourself out of the way and going, you know what? I asked the question. Whatever comes through, I'm just going to write it down and just, I'll play make believe and I'll evaluate it later. So now with this was a really clear message. And luckily for me, it was in English. It's not always the case. I've gotten messages in Portuguese. I don't speak Portuguese. I've never listened to Portuguese in my life. I've gotten messages in Portuguese. I've had to go and translate. Wow. I've had messages appear to me in Aramaic that I've had to translate. And so, and with that, it's not that the spirit doesn't speak my language. It's that they're wanting me to go search it out and find out, because in studying Aramaic, I found out all about some of the first Gnostics that existed in Nabatea, and that just led me down a whole rabbit hole. And so it's like they were waving a flag, but kind of making me chase them down the rabbit hole. Right. Like Byron said, they leave their fingerprints on everything, and so it's like once you start seeing it, it's like, oh, okay, yeah, just follow it down the rabbit hole.
Now, how many times do you get the answer to the question before you even ask the question? Like right before? Like probably all the time, huh? Like most of the time, right?
A lot.
That's another trippy thing, Yeah.
Dude, that's happened to me too. I mean, I tell this story all the time about how I did like a super heroic dosage of mushrooms one time, and the Elohim came and started fucking talking to me, and it wasn't like a sound from outside, but it was like I was hearing sounds in my own head that I knew 100% was not me, like speaking in trumpet voices. And for some reason, I just knew that I could ask it questions. And I couldn't even finish the fucking question before the answer was right there. And I was so astonished about what the answer was that I didn't even want to ask my next question, because I wanted to ask a budding question off of the answer that I had just gotten, So it's like, it's wild. It's such a crazy thing that goes on. But in that instance, I felt as if there was like an absolute, some kind of powerful communication that I was having. But then I have other experiences, whether I'm in deep meditation or something like that, where I'm really trying to essentially hollow out the mind and open up some space for otherworldly, so to say, communication. And most of the time, it almost sounds like it's like my higher self of sorts, if I'm not necessarily calling upon anybody, like maybe just a higher version of me or something like that. And so whenever you guys are calling upon certain beings, like, are you the answers that you're receiving in your mind once you've hollowed it out, are you just understanding that is exactly who you are communicating with? or how does that work in your mind? So, like, for example, I did a tarot reading the other day on myself, and I was really like trying to figure something out. It was kind of like a very important question that I wanted to ask, and I have this little crystal that one of our favorites gave to us, and it's a little panda, and whenever I'd gotten that, I was like, instantly I associate that with my grandmother who passed away about 15, 20 years ago, right? And so specifically, whenever I had that crystal on top of the tarot deck, I was specifically calling upon her, right? And I don't know, maybe that sounds wild, but I was like, I'm just going to trust it. And whatever reading that I get, I am going to have faith that this is the message that she is giving me. Nobody else, nothing else. It is only her, right? And whenever I got that message, bang. It was exactly like, dude, it was so crazy because it was like a 3-card draw that I did. And it was almost exactly how she would say it was the message that I got. And I was like, man, it never seems to amaze me. It never seems to not amaze me, rather. And it's like, so basically my question is that whenever you're calling upon said energy, are you just assuming that whatever voice pops into your head, that's exactly where that information's coming from?
Oh, that's a great question because not always, not always. Um, there is so you do have to develop a bit of a familiarity. The first time you encounter a spirit, um, it's like somehow a lot of us get lucky that the first time we call King Paimon, he's the one that actually shows up and is like, hey, and starts working with you, because other things, imposters could show up. And that is why I say to ask the spirit its name. If you're not sure who it is, just take that extra step of going, welcome to my temple. Thank you for coming. What's your name? And a spirit like, for instance, Azazel, he's not just going to say Azazel. He's usually going to follow it up by, I am Azazel, Lord of Saturn, and kind of brags about himself for a minute. That's usually what the spirits will do, is they'll name maybe a couple of their epithets, or they'll just tell you their name. Trickster spirits will try to get out of the question, and then you can do another further test of having them sign their name. And so you pass them a notebook, and what they'll do is they'll just kind of usually wave their hand over it, and then you look at it with your psychic vision, and you can see the imprint. It's like you look at the page, and it looks like it's glowing, like a little glowing wherever they signed it. And they can, there's like supposedly a rule, a spirit can't sign a name other than their own. I don't know how secure that is, but whatever. It seems to work enough. But so there are things like that you can do, but it is largely going to be a matter of familiarity. If your grandma comes up and gives you a hug from behind you, you can feel that's your grandma and not the guy that you owe money to. Right. You can feel the essence of that person. And so this comes back to the conversation about omens too. What's important, it's not that the fire happened in Vegas and the billboard said this thing. It's the fact that I noticed it at that exact time and it meant something to me, that I took it in and I said, "Ooh, that's significant. That's the only thing that's really important." And because there are a million things that I'm ignoring, while that one thing stands out to me. And so similarly, as you're doing the reading, you're like, I do readings a lot for my daughter. I do readings for like clients and stuff. But my daughter is a fiend. She comes to me all the time with everything she's got. And she's like 20 years old at this point. So she's got all kinds of stuff going on in her life she needs help with. And I'm happy to guide her. But with that, a lot of times I'll throw down the cards and I'll look at them and go, dude, there's nothing there. You got to reshuffle. I don't know. Maybe you weren't thinking about it. Maybe, but I'll look at the cards and I can just feel confusion. And I'm like, you gotta hit that again. And so so with that feeling of discernment, I think that takes precedence over all things. You can feel if somebody is lying to you, and you can feel if they're being honest to you. You've got to use that same discernment. This is, biblical, the discernment of spirits. This is a gift that I think is embedded into us to be able to, tell that. So,
wow.
But Byron, what about you? What gifts, what discernments do you use, and how do you know if you're talking to the real guy?
Yeah. So going back to that first evocation question, I guess the first sensation I'll feel like as the spirit approaches and stuff is like a drop in pressure, like I'll feel that right away. But I get this kind of like a feeling in my ears, where it's almost like the sound changes. It almost feels like I'm in like a vacuum chamber or something, But but yeah, so with discernment, you know, I feel like that's something, like, a Pisces is where'd that echo come from? All right, but that's something like a Pisces will pick up on really quick because every Pisces I know, had that ability at a young age, you know.
Mm.
Like a lot of Pisces though, they can be hypochondriacs, like she's not like that anymore, but my woman's a Pisces, so
Yeah.
but for discernment, man, that's a tricky thing. I think some of it depends on the person because some people are just naturally good at it. For me, it took a while of like learning how to tell people are lying is a big one, you know. And even and this is where I think like sometimes like the occult and conspiracies mesh really well because it's the same kind of muscle when you can like look at the news and know that it's a flat out lie. So I think that same muscle applies to the occult. So I think, some of that stuff. One thing that helped me a lot with doing it quicker and picking up on that stuff, I think was the emotion code and muscle testing, you
Mm.
know. But for a long time though, you know, you have this logical part of your brain that wants to second guess it. It's one of those things where it's like the first voice is almost always right, but that second doubting voice is almost always wrong. So you got to just kind of once you pick up on that. But as far as spirits go, with tricksters and stuff, I don't know. Like I think that's something like beginners would have to deal with more than anyone else because there's a saying, you can have cats or you can have pests.
Mhm.
So I think once you establish like a relationship with a few spirits and you're working with them, uh, I think a lot of that is just going to kind of rectify itself.
So just kind of
You
like
know,
relying on your intuition a bit and understanding that like, especially after a while, seasoned vets like y'all, it's
yeah.
probably just second nature that if you're being fucked with, if you're being told the truth kind of thing.
Well,
Yeah.
let me go a little to maybe a different area of this too. It's not all on us, and what I mean by that is my first evocation of Azazel. So Azazel is known as the scapegoat, and he was one of the fallen angels that came here and taught men sorcery and warfare, all the cool stuff in life. And he, so I do my evocation of him, but as I'm leading up to it, I just out of nowhere, I was like, I'm going to try this spirit. I've heard his name a few times, and I'll just reach out to him and see if he can help me with a book release I was doing at the time. And so I call him and I said, "Thank you for coming so quickly when I called you." And he said, "No, thank you for coming so quickly when I called you." And I was like,
Ooh.
"Whoa, what do you mean?" I did a whole, and I explained it. I broke it down for him. I'm like, I did a whole evocation that I created so I could call you. And he goes, "And you did that because I was telling you to do that because I needed to talk to you." And I was like, "Oh, dang, okay, that flips the whole thing over on its head. Then, is if you're being told to call a specific spirit, it's not like you've got to weed through all the spirits that are out there. No, it's already standing right next to you. And so here's what I'm actually going to say: is if you start getting that inkling of I want to call a spirit, I want to call this specific spirit, just run it around in your mind. What would a ritual for this spirit look like? What kind of ritual would it want? Would it want a bunch of candles? What color are candles? Let yourself, because what's happening as you're asking yourself these questions, you don't know the answers. The spirit's going to start filling in the blanks for you. And so you're going to start, just as you start to ponder about it, you're going to start having the entire ritual that's just designed for you, that you know exactly what to do. Sometimes, a lot of times actually, people will start getting visions of the place they need to do it. They're like, "Oh, there's this spot in the woods I forgot all about, and now I'm going to go there and set up this ritual," because they're being guided by it. So the spirit's already guiding you. There's not a huge amount of effort actually in calling it. It's already there. The biggest effort is in relaxing, dropping your own walls, and letting it happen.
Oh my
That's great, dude.
God.
The
Dude,
way that you've covered some of this tonight has just been so like it's exciting. You know what I mean? It's like
yeah.
you're pulling us into into your realm, dude, and it's just exciting. I wanted to ask one question though, because he did mention the trickster spirits. If you can, like, what is your understanding of the trickster spirits? Why are there trickster spirits? What is their, obviously they want to trick us, but like, why? What's going on with that?
But
So
why?
most of them are low-level vampires. Yeah, I'm gonna say most of them are low-level vampires. That they're little spirits, and why they exist, man. That's there's a million things in this reality that exists that I'm not sure why they exist. But as far as they're concerned, they're trying to get attention. Okay, so let me back up. There's a guy, Mark Passio, that if you haven't checked out, you got to check him out. He's done a lot of really cool things in understanding the occult symbolism that's everywhere in the world around us. And he introduced me to this concept. There are two currencies that are universal. Every spirit will accept these currencies, and in fact, if you use these currencies in your life and your business and whatever, they do pay off. And that's your time and your attention. Everything is trying to get your time and your attention. And so that's the offering you can give any spirit or anything that you want to increase in your life. If something's not working out well, if somebody's treating you like shit, give them less of your time and attention, and you see how they just go away. The things that you want to enhance in your life, give it more of your time and attention, they just flourish.
Right.
And including the bad things. Something bad's going on. If you give it a bunch of your time and attention, it gets worse and worse and worse. And so these are universal currencies. So these trickster spirits are coming through trying to get some attention, just trying to get, and the way I visualize them, they're not like full-bodied spirits. It's almost like a floating sperm floating around, or it looks like, it actually to me looks a lot like on the movie Ghost, the little black things that pull people to hell. I don't know if you saw the movie Ghost with Patrick Swayze, but looks like that. Just like these black shadows that are just kind of lingering around.
Like a wraith.
And yeah, exactly. Like a little, like a not very well formed wraith. Yeah. And what they're trying to do is they're trying to get your energy. Now, the way that they can, you can see a progression here. At first, so what they're trying to do is they're trying to get whatever attention, they're trying to vampirize your time and attention to get your energy. And so at first they'll just start moving things around and opening cupboard doors and turning on and off television sets. But something really dangerous happens if there's anybody in the house that gets afraid of them. If anybody gets afraid, why that's dangerous is that's a ton of energy you just dumped out all over that spirit. And then it starts learning something. It's like, oh, wait a minute, because these are actually really, they're not intelligent at all. They're really operating on a primitive, like animalistic type of instinct. So they're looking at that going, oh, I got to get me more of that. That was good energy. Let me see what I can do to enhance the fear. And so then they start causing nightmares, and they start causing, sometimes full on attacking people to try to get that fear response. So this is why when people say that they've, they're like, oh, all I need to do is call the name of Jesus. It doesn't matter the name of Jesus. You could be talking about Rice Krispies as long as you're doing it in a authentically competent voice. You are centered in yourself and you're not afraid. That's the ticket right there, is to counteract the fear by whatever else you can and push it out. But you also got to be careful of not feeding them anger or jealousy if you've got these kinds of things happening. So one of the things that I started noticing is I've just called it the spirit of contention. If you start arguing in the house, you kind of notice like a snowball. Other people start arguing. The cats start fighting with each other, and it creates this momentum. You've got to do a full banishing. Get some sage out, banish it out, open the windows, and let some fresh air in. Or say a prayer, whatever it is that your system is, to banish that negative energy. But treat it like an infesting spirit, because it is, and it's going to start tormenting you. Because you got to look at this as an energy play. Everything's trying to get energy. I'm trying to get energy, and I love the energy I get off of coming on shows like this and talking to cool people and whatever. These little nasty things get their energy from low sources. And so they're going to try to stimulate it, whatever, through arguments and things like that. And again, just without fear, cast them out with full confidence. We do have an ability to set sacred space. That's like a spiritual thing that was given to us, and you know, go back to the Bible, we're made in the image of God. I take that very literally, that we are living gods. We are made in the likeness and with all of the power of our creator. And our existence is a matter of trying to unlock all of it and remember it, because we've forgotten. But with that, God, the almighty creator, has the ability to create boundaries and go, this is the universe, here's your solar system, and creates boundaries within which things can happen. And this is why you create the circle in the magical space. You are acting as God, creating a boundary. And so this isn't even just in Christianity. Let's look at it from the Norse mythology. Same thing the gods did. As soon as they killed the first giant, Ymir, they pulled his flesh down, they pulled down his eyebrows, and they put a boundary around Midgard and around their own Asgard. So they're like, we got to be protected. We got to have a sacred space. So that is something. You can create that sacred space around your home. Drawing a circle around your home is actually a really good idea. Even if you're not under attack, we're living in a war where there's a warfare going on everywhere around us. There are symbols being blasted at us. There are people using technology against us. There are mass manipulation campaigns going on. You gotta be able to come into your house and have that be your sacred space. And so absolutely go around your property with a bag of salt and just draw a salt circle around your property, and whatever, your neighbors will think you're weird, but you'll be safe.
Yeah. Dude, all right. So I've been stewing on asking you this question because you had mentioned it earlier, and I was like, oh my God, I feel like you just unlocked something in my own mind. And then you kind of just touched on it again a little bit there, talking about made in the image of God, made in the likeness of God, and stuff like that. Essentially, little pieces of God, like a drop in the ocean in a drop kind of thing, whatever you want to call it. But it's, you had mentioned earlier about how you were like one of your first invocations or evocations, you had the spirit come on, what the hell was his name? King Paimon, right? Yeah. And you had mentioned about like, all right, well, you knew that he was there, but then you started saying like, Yode, Vave, or whatever, calling on essentially like the name of God. In that instance, are you almost like embodying the highest version of God at that point to be able to command this spirit?
Indeed. You talked about it before, as far as like walking as the God and embodying that. 100%. So here's, dude, you just opened the box that makes this whole thing happen.
Let's go.
The person that takes out the trash and washes the dishes, I can't make miracles happen, right? I'm a monkey that's figuring this shit out. And so what's actually what you need to do is one of the first aspects of any ritual is turn it over. You become a vessel for the higher thing that you want to call into yourself. So I work quite a bit with the principle of Yod He Vav He, which that's not Jehovah. Jehovah is this fake God that was created from this principle, but I'm talking about a principle of pure light and pure creation and nothing but good involved in that.
Not the
demiurge. I want to just pull that into me as much as I can until I'm glowing with that. And so when I'm speaking the words, because it was a challenge that he gave me. Who are you to call me? Right now, the first instinct I had is, run away. I'm nobody. And that's actually good. You are nobody. We're nobody. That's exactly where because it's not me that's doing this. No, it is the highest of the high. It is the Almighty himself speaking through me. And to be honest, as you're saying this, you got to get into a bit of a crazy land, because, saying these things in public conversation with people, it sounds silly and but when you're actually, doing it in your own ritual, you are fully commanding it. And there's no doubt about it. In, ceremonial magic, they call this assumption of God forms. So that you actually choose which God you want to inhabit. Find out if do they, in all of their depictions, are they always sitting down or are they standing up? You do exactly what they do. Are they holding their hand in a specific way? You hold your hand in that way, and then you sit there and become them and let them come out and start moving through you. And so it's like possession, but when we think of possession, we think a small version of possession of like some little wandering spirit popping into you. But this is possession by the highest forces. And so, yeah, absolutely.
So that sounds a lot like...
Then it's through that the whole thing happens. It's actually you're getting out of your way and letting the light of the creator or the source or whatever you want to say, that's just moving through you and making that stuff happen. And with that, the things that you speak, that's the voice of God. That is the commandment of the Almighty upon the world. But you've got to honor that by not getting your own bullshit in the way. And so if you feel like if that comes through you and you're like, you know what, Azazel, you are not going to be summoned tonight. Good night. I'm shutting this thing down. You've got to honor that. You can't push against it. You've got to open yourself up and keep yourself an open vessel.
Oh man, dude, this might sound kind of crazy, and some people are gonna think that it's downright blasphemous, but that's okay. That almost sounds exactly like what Jesus was doing. Am I tripping by saying that?
I don't think so.
Like,
dude,
he's calling on the Father, right?
Yeah.
That nobody goes to the Father except through me, right? Like, is that not like him saying it, but people misunderstood it and misinterpreted kind of thing?
Dude, well,
dude.
when Jesus heals, was it the blind person? Everyone's around like, Jesus Christ, how'd you do that? And he was just like, dude, that's nothing. You guys can probably do way cooler shit than that.
Right. Holy shit. I think he caught some hate for that too, right?
Hung his ass.
No, that 100% was Jesus's big teaching is don't worship me. I'm nobody. It's the Father that deserves all of the praise, and he's inside of you. Good news, he's already inside of you. You don't have to go anywhere. You don't have to do anything. The Father is already inside of each of us, and like Byron just said, all of the miracles that I'm doing, you can do too, and even greater things, because that's the real point of it. He's like, I'm doing some cool stuff for sure. You can do this too, and even greater things. As he's dying and resurrecting himself, he's telling us, you can do better than this. Come on, guys, step it up.
That seems to get overlooked quite a bit, I think.
It's almost like, why would you worship the wizard, bro? He was showing you the way. You don't have to worship him in that sense. Like, understand what he was trying to say, but like to turn him into an idol, I think that's exactly not what he wanted, right?
Well, there are the three tests of Satan, the three temptations of Christ that Satan gave him. So the first was to be able to transmute water. Jesus is fasting for 40 days and 40 nights. Satan comes to him and says, hey, awfully hungry, awfully thirsty, aren't you? Why don't you take those stones and you can just command those stones to turn into bread and water? You can do it. You know that, right? And he goes, all you got to do is worship me, and I'll give you that power. And Jesus says, no, I don't need to worship you. I don't need bread and water. I can survive on the Spirit alone. Thank you very much. Satan goes, okay, well, it takes him up above Jerusalem, shows him all of Jerusalem and supposedly the whole world, and says, all of this can be yours. All of this will be under your dominion if you worship me. Jesus says, no, I'm not going to worship you. Like, I don't need all of this. Everything is already in my Father's hands. Not going to worship you. Third test was takes him up a giant peak where he says, if you jump down, if you worship me, you can fall down and you won't die. I'll make you immortal. He goes, no, I'm not going to worship you. Now, in the hidden story here, in rejecting worship, in just rejecting worship, he got all three of those things. He had the ability, because he came out of that, all of a sudden he's transmuting water into wine. He's raising the dead. He's doing exactly that. Christianity is one of the biggest religions all over the face of the earth. It worked. His spell fucking was cast and it worked. He did, get immortality supposedly physically, but in any way that the myth is read, he's an immortal figure. So he gained all three of those things. And so the lesson I get from this is he's saying, don't worship anything. You'll get what you want. As soon as you start worshiping, that's when you're going to lose all of these things.
Wow.
Damn.
I've never heard this before.
That makes the most amount of sense, though, doesn't it?
It does. Holy shit.
Wow. I feel like you just unlocked the next level, dude. I'm not even lying.
Well, and then let's go even a further step. And this goes back to, like, are the demons really bad? Jesus and was Jesus really good? Jesus is being followed around the whole time by one spirit. He has a familiar spirit that's following him around all the time, always talking to him, yapping in his ear. It's not the archangel Michael. It's not Gabriel. It is Satan. It is Satan walking alongside him every step of the way. You're going to try to tell me this dude's not a sorcerer? Of course he's a sorcerer. He's got the devil himself walking beside him.
Wow.
Damn.
That's crazy.
Dude.
I love it.
All right. Now I'm kind of excited to go to church on one of these Sundays now just to look at it from that angle. You know what I'm saying? Like, oh, geez, that is so crazy. So, and this is the thing, and Byron, you always talk about it. Like it's almost like it's like a divine right almost to be able to work with, magic in a sense. And it's like, your famous saying is like, your mind is a weapon, keep it loaded. Right. And I just find that like, in combining it with what we're talking about right here, dude, we're fucking all sorcerers in that sense, right? Like we all have the ability to do these things and manipulate our surroundings. And in that sense, it's like, and then you got other people that are like, I don't know, maybe they're worshiping a certain deity or something like that. And it's almost like, man, I feel like you just don't understand what you're doing and you're just doing what your parents told you to do and stuff like that. Well, like, what do you really know about it? Other than just what everybody else is doing. And I don't know. I always found it fascinating that somebody could call themselves religious or that they're a certain follower of said icon or whatever, but then they don't really even know the stories of it. It's kind of like they're just doing it out of tradition at that point, and which is who's that helping?
And I think it's one of those things too. For one, most of them miss the point, about the whole meaning of the book and everything, and then it's just they're on their whole other trip, but there's no point in being spiritual if you're not going to do work. So it doesn't matter if you're going to be a Christian or a Muslim or whatever, like, or a New Ager or an occultist. Like, I feel like you have to do work, because you can read all the books in the world, you can, you can pray and everything. And praying is one thing that'll help, blessing your food before you eat it. That's huge, but you have to do the work. And this is where people get really messed up because they think of magic as something that's like separate from them, like it's evil, but it's like it's the part of us that's the most real. It's the part of us that's like linked closest to the creator and all of creation. Everyone has the ability to do this. And
well, let me actually go a little just one step further than that. It's not even that everybody could, but they don't. No. It's worse than that. Everybody is creating their reality accidentally, unintentionally.
Yeah.
Every single thought that you have is so. Let's just take this. If you think about something, that's just a thought form. That's just a thought. It's not nothing really. But as soon as you start attaching energy through emotion to that thought, it starts creating a bubble of energy or even a stream of energy that connects that thing to manifesting. And so you start thinking you're at work, working away, and you're like, God, my wife's such a bitch. She was, and you start grumbling about it, and you're like, I bet she's going to be in a bad mood when you're manifesting every bit of that.
Wow.
And so it's not just that people could use magic, and people are using sloppy magic. They're using unintentional magic,
right?
Because every thought you think, every word you speak is
equally
a spell.
Powerful.
Yeah.
Oh, dude,
it's sort of like when you read books on like neurolinguistic programming. One of the things they make clear when it comes to the ethics of it is you can't not influence people. So it's kind of the same thing with magic. You can't not do magic. Everyone's doing magic all the time. And how many people do you see out in the Matrix, man, that are like people that you care about and love that are just like cursing themselves over and over and over again? Can you imagine going through like public school and then like working in a factory to working like some other thing, going through divorces and never even understanding the importance of cleaning your aura? Like imagine how many people are just so gunky and beat down from life, and then they just become magnets for it once it gets to a certain point, and
I think when people allow their ego to really drive everything in their reality, they tend to forget, I think Jonathan's brought this up before. If you just look at yourself as a human that you are there to take care of, almost like that higher version of yourself looking out for the thing that is you would definitely want to do everything you could to take care of that thing. But because you are inside of this body, for whatever reason, it's almost easier to just kind of succumb to those lower energies of the ego.
Oh, dude, you forget that you're not you. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's the
Right.
crazy thing. You think that you are the avatar, but that's why we always talk about, like, and that's literally the reason why every single episode we have a meditation to try and remind us that we are not the avatar. We're kind of just, aware of it, and, you could say in control of it and whatnot. But, and this is a quote that we always say, and this is
Carl
from
Jung.
Carl fucking Jung.
I thought about it, and then I saw you typing it in to find it, because we never get it right. This is beautiful.
Yes,
I love
Carl
this.
Jung's famous quote. Now I'm gonna get this fucking tattooed on me, bro, because this is
Yeah,
like
I think you're gonna have to. That
clutch.
way you can read it. Instead of having
just
to pull
look
it up.
down. What did that say again?
Yeah.
But he goes, until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life, and you will call it fate. And that is
Damn.
exactly like, if you're unaware that you're a magician, and
That's
for a
the
lack of a better
accidental
word,
magic that you're doing.
you're doing the
know?
accidental
Yeah.
magic. Yeah, like all that shit you're talking. Oh, I suck at this, or I'm never going to get this. And it's like, yes, here is my wand, and I'm granting you this wish, in that sense. And
Right.
it's like, man, if we only knew the power, it's crazy.
Oh yeah. Well,
Dude,
yeah,
go
and
Okay,
and
sorry.
you-
Go ahead.
you can flip situations. Let's go back to the other situation. You're getting ready for work, and your wife's kind of being not that friendly. You go off to work. If you spend your work day thinking about how awesome she is, appreciating her, and maybe even thinking about what you've done wrong and how you can do better, you're probably going to get home to a wife that's done the exact same thing. She's probably spent the whole day doing the same thing, and you get to the door and she's, I'm so sorry, baby. This morning was a disaster. I love you so much. But because you can, and this is actually a fun little game to play with your reality. If you feel the energy of something moving in a way you don't like, all right, well, let me actually take a step back, actually, because what you were saying there about becoming, you're not the avatar until you choose to be, and you can step into it, and I've got something that works for me. 3 breaths. I take 3 intentional breaths. Just breathe, hold it, release. After 3 breaths, I'm there, and then I can operate from actually being present. But you see yourself wandering off and drifting off. Napoleon Hill wrote another book called Outwitting the Devil. His publisher wouldn't let him publish this book while he was alive. His kids tried to publish it. They wouldn't let him publish it either, because this book is Napoleon Hill taking all of his self-help philosophy and putting it into a conversation he has with the devil. And so he goes, Satan, if you were going to stop me from all the good things I'm going to do in this world, how would you do it? I want to know exactly your plan. And then he goes through exactly how people are thrown off course. And he goes, every time what it comes down to is this one thing, and that's the drift. That you're not paying attention. You took your hands off the wheel. Life is going okay. It's going okay. You don't need to pay that much attention. And so you don't have, it's just drifting. And you can drift in a car, if you're not going too fast, just coasting along. You can drift for a few minutes before it causes an issue. But sooner or later it causes an issue. And so every problem that you can track down when your life's gone off the rails is because you took your hands off and let it drift. And so the thing is to have your daily practices, that every day you're becoming present, that you're engaging with a meditation, a prayer, a ritual, something that you're harnessing yourself and going, you know what, I'm not going to drift today. I'm actually, so for me, little personal addition to this is I'm a recovering addict, coming on 3 years sober. Good to me.
That's awesome.
And with
man.
that,
Shit, dude.
thank you. It's and that is a daily thing. Just every day. Hey, I'm not gonna fuck up my life with using that shit ever again. Today is my day of just being sober, and with that kind of thing, also do the same with it. Today is my day of just being happy. I've been working through this discipline lately of trying to only wish well on every living thing. And that's hard, because there are people that piss me off. There are bugs that annoy me. There's little things in life. And so it is a discipline that I'm picking up from Buddhism and stuff, of just wishing well, trying to make that come from an authentic place of love. And dude, it's hard. But that's why it's a discipline. And so all of these things, make sure you're doing something every day that's making you grab that steering wheel and hold on to it and push life in the direction you want to go.
That's great. Just like you said
100%.
earlier, 2 of the most valuable things you have is your time and your attention. And so it just depends on where you are directing that. And we have the power to direct it basically anywhere, really.
Dude,
even in the bad. So
You know what's funny too is that we were out by the pool yesterday, and I live in an apartment complex. They got a pool right in the middle, and so me and my son went out there, and my wife went out there as well. And when we were out there, there was this wasp that was like flying around, and it like flew down and got stuck in the water, and you could see it. It was like pretty cool. It was like swimming with its little arms and shit. And in my mind, I'm thinking of like Buddhism in a sense, because my old self would have said, fuck that wasp, I'm killing it, I'm drowning it right now, like I don't want it to be a part of my life at all, right? And that's what she wanted to do. She was like, kill it, drown it, like you don't want to get stung, do you? And I was like, all right, you know what, I'm gonna lift it up out of the water, and I'm just gonna set it on the side, and just let it live a little bit, right? And she goes, oh, that's stupid, it's just gonna come back and sting you.
That's
and
stupid.
and I was like, maybe it'll show me a little love because I just saved its life, right? When you know it, dude, like 3 minutes later, I get stung by the motherfucker. And I'm like, all right, I thought I was doing the right thing, and I get stung for it. I'm like, what's going on here? And so I don't know. Maybe that was just like a little wasp kiss or something.
Here's my evaluation of that. He shouldn't have said that. She put that into the universe. She shouldn't have put that in the universe.
Shit.
She should have said, "That's really sweet of you, baby. That wasp is going to fly away and love life and da da da." But
She said it's going to sting you.
She's a wizard.
My friends will do that. I'll be like, "You can't put that shit into the universe because every word you speak is a spell for sure." But and so I had last year. I'm just sitting out on my back porch, just chilling, and this wasp flies and gets right in my face. And same thing, old me would have snatched it up and then squeezed it right away. And I'm like, it's not actually doing anything though. It's just chilling. It's kind of cute. It actually kind of, if you look at wasps up close, they kind of look like dogs. Like they kind of like have a floppy dogness to them. And so I'm like, oh, that's kind of cute. So it lands on my coffee cup and like my coffee mug that has like a little hole that you sip out of. And there's like a ring of coffee that it's sipping off of. I'm like, I'll let it drink my coffee. Every morning I'd come out there and for about a month, and it would come out there and be with me. And so I started putting out, and it never stung me once. So I put out a little pile of honey. I was just like, hey, let's just see, let's just squeeze some honey out on this log that I've got out there. Sure enough, a ton of wasps come around, and they start. They were coming around me, treating me like a friend. Like they were just buzzing around me. One of them landed on my nose, and that was more of a I kind of shoot it away as gently as I could, but it was. It was like probably a good month or two that I just had this beautiful daily relationship with these bees or these wasps. I had to learn all about them because I thought they were bees because I didn't know the difference, and I had to look it up. I'm like, oh no, these are actually wasps, and here's the cool spiritual significance of that or whatever. But with this made me unravel this massive teaching with my interaction with these wasps. I do the same thing with cats. I've got cats that have become pets, and all I've had to do is just put food out. And I live next to the wilderness, so little runaway cats and stuff will come eat the food, make friends with them. And I was thinking about it, and I was like, that's really similar to the way that we interact with the divine, or we interact with our gods or our spirits. Speaking in English back and forth, sure, that works, but that's not a pure communication, because that's not how they think, that's not how they communicate. So they're having to slow their messages way down. A more pure communication between two species is through gifts. That you give it something you think it's going to like, and the idea of gifts is you give it something it's going to like that's easy for you to get, like any kind of food item or things like that, incense, candles, the two currencies of time and attention. It's easy for you to just pay a little bit of attention to these things. And then they give you gifts of sometimes miracles happening in your life. And those are the real communication I feel like happens with spirits, with animals, with all kinds of things. We can talk all day long, but it's actually the exchanges that can kind of tell you the most.
So gifts as in like little offerings, you mean?
Sure. Yeah. Okay. Let's break this down. So, a gift, the first level is going to be your time and attention. Like, are you just going to think about it? Or are you actually going to go light a candle and gaze into it and think about the thing that you want to have happen and go through the process? And then you're going to follow that through with the work that you've got to do. So that's the first part of it. but then also offerings. So what would be an offering if, let's say, a love spell? You want to do a love spell. What would be some good things to have in there? Well, some candles, because inflame things and get things fired up, and candles are a good gateway for the candles. Probably red for to get a nice fiery color, the blood rolling, and make some associations like that. So that even those are offerings, how you're setting up the ritual, the visualization that you have. But then there's another offering that's I call it like a back end offering, a back end sacrifice. So you cast the spell, you ask for the thing to happen, and then you see the girl at the coffee shop. She's standing right there. She was delivered to you. This is the next part of the offering. Are you going to go ask for her number, or are you just going to let the situation pass you by? And so that's another part of the offering is following through on it, doing your thing, doing your part, and trusting, like looking at it and going, that's what I asked for. There it is. And going and getting it. That's also part of the offering. And then once you've received it, actually reaching out to those spirits and saying, hey, thanks so much. That worked out really well. I appreciate you. And I'll usually do that. Like if I've got sigils or other things on paper that I need to burn or release at the end of the ritual, I'll use that moment to thank the spirits in advance. Hey, thanks. And it's that spirit of gratitude that actually is a huge offering. All of these things, whether it's the incense or the candles or all of these things, though, it's your own energy that you're bringing to it. It's that the candles are red. You know what it means for you to do these things, and so it's that energy that you're going to offer up to the situation that you want to have it unfold. Does that make sense?
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. You're just
no stabbing people, though. Just to be clear for everybody, no stabbing people. That's not what the offerings are about. No harming others. I don't even. I have done like animal sacrifices of chickens and stuff like that, and I'll eat it. I'll eat it. I'll use the bones. I use all of it. I don't like it. I don't feel like it's necessary. I feel like I can get just as much energy from tapping radionics or from doing a meditation or from masturbating. There's a million ways to get just as much energy that without. It's just I love animals. I love life, and I don't want to kill anything that it doesn't need to be killed. And with that, I don't have any problem with hunting or with fishing or eating meat or whatever. But I don't feel like it's necessary. Now, mind you, if I'm out deer hunting, you better believe before I put that deer down, I'm going to get into a meditative state. I'm going to thank it for its offering to me. I'm going to commune with it. I'm going to make it a religious experience when I'm taking the life of that animal.
That makes sense. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. And that's something that, we kind of feel the same way about too. Like, I'm all for magic and everything, but whenever it comes to sacrificing something, I'm like, man, I'm not going to sacrifice an animal. Maybe I'll sacrifice my need for sugar or something like that. You know what I'm saying? Like that's a worthy sacrifice.
That's also not to say that it doesn't work. You know what I mean? Like we understand that it does, but yeah, no, I respect that. I'm with you on that, dude. And it's funny, man, every time we have these episodes and Byron brings one of his friends along, man, and I just know that something's going to be unlocked. Something it's just going to snap, and we're going to understand it just a lot better. And I think that we've learned a lot we've had a lot of those moments here tonight. I just want to let you know that, man. Yes. And your excitement and everything, man, it's got me excited.
No, thank you. That's it is exciting. So when I was a kid, I grew up Mormon, and so I'd sit in church and I'd hear about this stuff, and none of it worked. I tried praying and not like asking for things and the things didn't happen, but I was talking to myself. And I could feel this, and I pushed through it, and I was a good Mormon kid. And really, like I was Mr. Mormon when I was a kid, really trying my hardest to feel what was going on with this faith. I returned to it as an adult too, just give it a couple more years and really see if it's, and it doesn't unlock anything. Like there's nothing there. And that's the same with a lot of, not every religion. Buddhism's got a lot of stuff there. You can open up different religions and see that there's a lot there, but within a lot of the mainstream Christian religions, it's just a control mechanism, and you can see that and feel it. But as soon as when I was 12, I started researching the occult, started looking, I'd sneak away to the library at school and try to look up whatever magical stuff. I was just being pulled to it. And then when I was 16, I started doing my first rituals. And it did just unlocked. It just started unlocking. Everything started working. The things I asked for, I just started getting. It was blowing my mind. And I actually was, for the first like maybe year, I was playing with it, trying to get it to fail. I was like, this is, I gotta be making this up. So let me just start casting this spell. Let me get this cheerleader to give me her number. Let me do this. I was going for ridiculous stuff in high school. My high school brain was going wild with the possibilities, and nothing failed. Like every ritual was producing result after result after result. And so, dude, it's always been so exciting. Where it's like, dude, I found this thing. Like, what's inside this box, guys? But what's really crazy to me, because for me, it's been, I'm not going to say nothing but positive, because for sure I've opened up some doors and called some evil stuff, and I've cast some curses, and so it's not all nothing but positive. But by and large, 99% positive for me. For everybody around me has done nothing but good. But what's crazy to me is when I show people that what's in the box, most people don't have the reaction you guys have. Most people are like, what the hell are you doing? You got to stop that, son. You got to find Jesus and this and that. Like, I already found Jesus, and there's nothing there. Like, I'm sorry, but I found the thing that all the stuff is at, and you got to check it out. And that is with a path like this, a magical path. How'd you guys put it? One of you guys said that like an eclectic witchcraft.
Yep.
Dude, it's not like there's one way to do it. There's one set of gods to worship. It's everything, and it is anything and everything that you want to include into your magical system. Included. If you want to pray to Jesus, that can be a definite part of your magical system. If you absolutely never want to, you don't have to.
Right. The things that don't work, take it out.
Yeah.
That's the beauty of it.
Yeah, with magic, almost anything works, man. Almost anything works. Going back to the radionics too, like I use a lot less like blood with radionics, like a lot less. And I mean, just programming a vigil candle, because it fills it with so much clean energy, and then using that in a ritual. I mean, that's the closest to like plug and play that I found with doing magic, where I can just do something and barely put any effort into it, and it works really well,
No,
but-
wait a minute, bro. When you say I'm using a lot less blood, it makes it sound like you were using a lot of blood.
Oh no. Yeah. No, I never really, I mean, I guess like every evocation, I would use a few drops of blood or something, or stuff like that. But with, like I said, with radionics, I really stopped using it. And radionics also kind of shifted my whole mindset on, the concept of offerings and stuff like that, and putting energy into it, and the amount of energy that needs to go into it. I kind of think more in terms of like the energy side of it now. And so I really think, like just the act of doing a ritual and an evocation, because you're putting a lot of energy into it. You're giving the spirit a body. You're communicating with it. You're creating a thought form and releasing it of what you want. So just in terms of energy alone, I think just the ritual alone is pretty much enough offering,
Yeah, you're kind of just creating that space for that thing to allow that thing to happen at that point.
Yeah.
Eric, I do have a question for you, just for anybody out there that is just now getting into this or is curious to see if this works, or are you communicating with the Dark Lord? And, maybe you are a little bit, but I'm just kidding. But whenever you're doing that kind of stuff, and you have people that are seemingly interested in it and maybe want to just test the validity of it a little bit, is there any like really easy ritual or really easy evocation or spell or something like that they can do that's not gonna ruin their life and make it go crazy, but just something simple that they can do to where they can look at the rest of their day or the next coming days and be like, oh shit, did I just do that? Is there anything like that, like something simple?
All right, so I used to do a lot of lectures and like speaking in front of people, and I'd get this question a lot where people would want to walk home with something, and so I would give them. So here's what I'm going to tell you: is get a sigil or a rune. So for instance, I've got Michael's sigil there. So that's just one of his sigils. You can find a sigil. So if you find a spirit that you want to call or a thing that you want to make happen, So you can also use a rune. You know, I don't know if I've got any examples of runes here, but oh, here we are. I got a bind rune that I've created there, a prayer to the frost giants to invoke the knowledge of the unknowable. And so, you know, here you can copy and paste that one if anybody wants to. But use a symbol, find a symbol that has a result that you want to get in your life. And so make sure, you know, if you're calling a spirit of wealth, that you actually do want wealth or whatever it is that you're calling. And draw that on a piece of paper. You can even just draw it in your notebook like I have here, but do it in black marker just like that. So it's nice and thick. Draw it, gaze at it, and think about the thing that you want to have happen. So, you know, money, you want to see that money in your hand, or imagine your bank account, or whatever it's going to look like for the amount of money that you want. If this is your first time, keep it reasonable. Don't go crazy. I want $1 million. Keep it, you know, I'll find some extra money. Don't even put a price on it or anything, but just kind of keep it open and be open to whatever it is that comes. But gaze at the sigil. Relax your vision while you're thinking and visualizing yourself having the thing you desire. Now, this is the number one ingredient that's going to make your magic work, and without it, your magic is not going to work, and that is visualizing what you want to have happen. Seeing it in your mind as if it's already happening, and then putting your emotions into it, because that's actually feeding it your energy. So what's it going to feel like when that money comes? Is that going to feel like relief, excitement? Produce that feeling within yourself as you're visualizing the end result, as you're gazing at the sigil. I'm using the word gazing intentionally. You don't want to stare at it. There's a specific kind of vision that you're going to find yourself locking into, where you're super relaxed, and it's almost the same vision you're going to use if you're looking at one of those 3D pictures that has a bunch of color, and then you look at it and a boat pops out. It's like you want to relax your vision so much that you start to fall into the sigil while you're gazing at it, while you're visualizing, while you're feeling the emotions that you're going to produce in the future when the thing happens. As you're doing this for just like a few seconds, maybe a couple minutes at most, you're going to start having some interesting things happen with the sigil. The lines of it might disappear, like physically, boom, they're not on the paper anymore, and then they reappear and they're glowing. Or it might start to look like the whole sigil lifts off of the paper and starts waving in the air. Sometimes it'll start to look colored, like the black ink starts to get rainbows inside of it. Just relax through that. Continue to visualize what you want to have happen. What you're going to notice is your ability to visualize it gets weaker and weaker, because the energy of it is going out of you into the sigil. The sigil is becoming a gateway that's taking all of that energy and pushing it towards the spirit or the realm that sigil is associated with. Once you're at a point that you feel like, and the visual phenomenon, anything you see, that's just phenomenon. Don't worry about it. Don't get too invested in it. It's just a sign that you're on the right track. You might also feel yourself getting a little dizzy. Just stay with it. You're not going to pass. Nobody's ever died from gazing at a sigil. Just stay with it. You'll be fine. And once you get to the point that you can't hold the vision, that it's just not there anymore, that's a signal the energy's out of you. So then say out loud what it is you want to have happen. If you're calling a spirit, say, Azazel, go into the world and set me up the opportunities for the success that I need. So it is done. And then blow out your candles, blow out everything, and go about your day. Fold up that sigil. Take that paper that you drew that on. For your first experiments, it's best to put this on a piece of paper that you can fold up and put somewhere. So not on a notebook, but somewhere that you can put somewhere so you forget about it. Put it in your sock drawer or up in a closet. Out of sight, out of mind. That's an open gateway, and so you just want to keep it out of sight until the thing happens, and then go find it and burn it once the thing has come about. It's a good idea to take those sigils or burn them just to release the gateway. Thank the spirit at that point. Hey, thanks for doing what you've done, and then release it. So that's. I know that's not super simple. As simple as like looking into a candle and chanting a few words. However, that knocks people's socks off. Okay. So I used to pass out. I would have a sigil. Everybody likes money. Nobody ever turns down a money spell for some reason. So I'd pass out these magic squares for money, and I'd have them printed. And then on the back of the square, I had printed out my email address. And so I'd pass those out to the audience. I'd guide them through the visualization, visualize yourself having the money, feel it happening. And then after it's over, I'd say, just email me with any results that you guys happen to get. and my email got flooded, usually within a week. At most, some of them were 2 weeks, but usually within a week, people are, I got the job promotion, or I lost my job and then another job came in. All of a sudden things start moving and turning in very, very strange ways. So this kind of magic that I just explained is called sigil magic. It is considered like advanced magic, but anybody can do it. You don't have to have special skills. You just have to be able to visualize what you want, gaze at the sigil, and let your energy get out of you. Your eyes are a powerful window. Like Byron was saying about opening the chakras of your eyes are powerful windows and gateways. And so if you're looking at something, this is another thing with the time and attention that you're sending your energy towards, your eyes can direct where that attention goes. Look at a photo of somebody and think about them, and they will feel you. They'll feel what you're thinking and feeling if you're connecting with them through your eyes. Look at somebody across the room. You want a girl to you want to get a girl's attention, just stare at her for a minute and really push your attention forward. She'll feel you and look over and call her over. So yeah.
Call her over,
dude. And
That's great,
we've
dude.
talked about this too, as far as like sigil magic and stuff like that. It's, you know what, whenever I hear it from people like you and from people like Byron, it's like, I feel like everything that we've talked about, like leading up to this point, has been on the right path, because that's perfectly in line with how we have done our own kind of spells. And like, we did a money spell, we've done love spells and all these other things. And it seems to work all the same way, you know, that sigil kind of magic in that sense. So yeah, I mean, look, if anybody's out there that doesn't believe that this stuff works, or, you know, is scared to try it, I mean, is there any reason to believe that if a spell or an evocation or a ritual, is there any reason to believe that if any of that actually does work, that now you're in control of that demon or something like that? I always hear that all the time. Well, it's like, yeah, they'll give you what they want, or they'll give you what you want, but then, you know, they control you. Is there anything like that connected to that stuff?
No, not that they control you, but here, look, I'm glad you brought this up, because I think there's a moment to give some responsible warnings about this, because you do need to be responsible about this, because it's real. Like the spirits you're calling, it's not just parts of your mind; they're actually real, and they actually do come, and they start rearranging your reality. And so, the very first thing I'm going to tell you is, here's the biggest harm that I can see that's a constant. You become like the things you surround yourself with. So you could be a happy-go-lucky person, and then somebody pisses you off and you do a curse on them. Then you got a spirit that's a baneful energy spirit that's around you. And that spirit wants more of that interaction. It wants your time and attention again. Now that it's made connection with you, hey, don't you think this person needs to be cursed too? Hey, what about that person over there? They start pointing out the people that need to be cursed, because they want to be activated again in your life. And so you can go down really slippery slopes with opening doorways of, I'm going to do this thing, and then you want to do it more and more, and it's not, and it is literally the forces you have around you whispering into your ear, guiding you to just activate them one more time. So, and it's not that if you do one curse on somebody, or you call one demon, that forever it's going to be haunting you. And maybe it could be. I think you need to overwhelm yourself with the spirits that you want to be like. And so, you know, that call some dark spirits if you need to call some dark spirits, but make sure that unless you want to become dark, that you're calling mostly light spirits. Or if you want to become dark, call the dark spirits you want, because you're going to become like them. And so that's the biggest thing there, is that you're going to develop a spiritual momentum in the direction that you travel. The second thing is that this is hard to conceptualize. Once you make contact with a spirit, it's with you forever. It's with you forever. And when I say forever, that's into the future. It's going to continue to linger around you. Anytime you want to activate that spirit, all you got to do is think about it, and it's there. But then you start noticing how that spirit's been there in the past too, all the way back, especially as you make stronger connections with it. It's like Azazel is the spirit I probably work with the most. And I'm like, dude, he was there my whole life. I can see him. I had some weird dark thing hanging out in the closet with glowing green eyes. And now I find out, oh, that was him. And he was not there haunting me. He was actually there protecting and guiding me as a child.
What?
And so
That's
you start to
interesting.
see things where it's like, I didn't even see it. Maybe didn't even remember it until making contact with the spirit. And then you can see the reflections of it outwards forever. And so with that, yeah, you got to be careful about the spirits that you call into your sphere of sensation, because they're always going to be lingering there. They're always going to have, and I, most magicians won't say this because they don't want to admit the truth. The spirits will have influence over you. They are whispering in your ear. They are pulling your desires. They are stirring things up. And so yeah. Now, for the most part, if it's a spirit that you can summon, you can also talk to it and just say, hey, I don't want you around me anymore. Cut off all the presence. And they will. They're not going to come too easily if you call them again. You got like one chance to kick them out of your life, basically. But so there are things like that. But that is the precaution you need to take, is don't be willy-nilly about the spirits that you invite into your life. It's not just inviting a stranger into your home. It's inviting them into your bedroom to get naked and lay in bed with you. Like, this is an intimate connection you're making with every spirit.
Man, wow.
Yeah.
All right.
Building
I love you to break that down like that.
Building a solid foundation first will make it less jarring. But especially with like some of these like non-human spirits and stuff, like that have been around forever. These are like forces of nature, and if you're not prepared for it. And then there's like regular pit holes too, because you got like a lot of people, especially in the left-hand path, are coping with like religious trauma, physical trauma, sexual trauma, like, and then there is like this kind of edgy coolness to it, I mean, which I understand. I'm a metalhead. I played in a bunch of metal bands. I love brutality. You want more brutality, not less. But so there's always going to be pitfalls. I think it's important to work towards being a grounded person, because like these energies can corrupt your life if you're not careful.
Yeah.
Especially if you're a polarized person. Which I feel like we saw a lot, since like 2016, really 2020. But I think if you're like a really polarized person, but here's the other rub. It's like a lot of people are just on their journey, so a lot of these pitfalls are going to be for like a 21-year-old more than a 45-year-old.
Yeah, that makes
So-
sense.
So part of it is just learning and growing. Everyone's on their own journey, but yeah.
Mhm.
And speaking of that journey too, EA, I wanted to ask you, because we've heard a lot of it from Lord Byron as far as radionics and how much of a major help it is. I mean, can you describe the ways that radionics machines are helping you within your magic?
Yeah, absolutely. Let me swivel my camera just a little bit. So in the corner there, you can see I've got a Van Graaff generator that generates static electricity, and then over to the television set. Everything in that corner is my radionic setup, and it's nuts. It's nutballs. It is nutballs. You fire it up, and I've got it hooked up to an amp, so you can hear. I can hear the frequencies, and so I'll power it up, and I'll hear the frequencies just throbbing through the room. I'll get them dialed. I've got a 2-frequency generator, so I can get 2 frequencies that kind of butt up against each other, and they create a fluttering effect, and that fluttering effect creates a ghost wave or a phantom wave, and that's actually the magical wave that I want to harness. So I've got specific frequencies I'll tune it into for that. And then I've got some of the personal devices that I'll use to fine tune it all. But dude, it's nuts, because it is technology, the very, very simple technology that because it literally is just frequencies. That's the whole technology is frequencies, and those frequencies do come together to create a field. And it's not. I'll have people come through. I throw a lot of parties. I've got a lot of cool friends that I like to hang out with, and I'll have people through here that don't have any connection with anything spiritual, and they'll come in, and it's kind of one of the like little tricks I'll do for company. Most of the stuff I do is really weird. People don't know what to make of it. but I'll call this my wish machine. I'm like, hey, come in. We're going to make a wish at the wish machine. And they're like, what? And so we'll fire it up, and then I'll have them put their hands on it, and they walk away charged. They're like, oh, I don't know what that was, but wow, dude, it is a very physical energy. But here's really where it came into play for me. I do a lot of rituals for clients, and I was going through we did a sale where it was, I don't know, half off of our rituals, and we promoted it all over the place. And so I was getting a ritual a day that I was having to do for people. And that was on top of all my other stuff that I had to do. And the way I was running my rituals is I would set up the whole ritual, I'd do it, and then I would put myself emotionally into the place of the person I'm trying to help. I would feel their situation with as much empathy as I could, and I would squeeze myself to get all of my energy to come out. Sometimes, yelling and screaming if I need to do that for a ritual, or weeping for just anything that I could squeeze myself to get every drop of energy I could for these rituals. And I was running myself ragged, and in a million ways, it was breaking me down. And that's actually when I finally was like, you know what, let me give this radionic stuff a try, because if I can use just something else to supplement my power, I've got enough power for myself and for a ritual every, maybe a couple rituals a week for people, but damn, that's a lot. It's just a supplement. And what I found is that it's so much more than that, because literally you're opening up a portal, an infinite portal, and then just any energy you want, you just pull it from that portal. You don't need to squeeze yourself. You don't need to try. You don't need to feel whatever. If that comes through naturally, sometimes it does. Sometimes I'll turn the device on, I'll start turning the dials, and I'll start weeping for the person that I'm doing the ritual for if they're going through something heavy. And so you can feel yourself tuning into it, but you don't have to squeeze yourself anymore, because the power's just coming through the portal. And that was a game changer for me with radionics, but also just with the way I approach magic. Rather than squeezing myself, let me just turn it over to the powers. Let me open the door. All I got to do is open the door and let the magic and let the gods and let it do the rest. My job can be as easy as opening the door. And so radionics comes into play, because it can force that door open, and it actually acts as what I call a door stopper. So you can jam it in the door and leave the door open, and we walk away, go do your own thing, and it's doing it all day long. So yeah, complete game changer as a professional magician doing rituals for people. I demand that I get good success. My clients demand that I get success. The rituals have to work. And so with that, it's like I know how to do it for myself, but being able to add that element of radionics in, now there's no question about it. Fire it up, boom, I don't have to squeeze myself. The rituals work every time. No questions asked. It does turn it into I can't remember the way Byron said it, but it's like a much more systematic approach. You just plug it in, do your thing, and it's good to go.
Yeah, plug and play. And the extra energy is important. But when you're talking about bringing friends over and they can feel the charge, I had a client down in Australia. She got a broadcaster. That's like the small one with the antenna on it. And she was working through the clip off. And I think she might have been on the Mars sphere, but she had that running in her temple, and at the same time she had painters over, and so when they would come up to the door of the temple, they would like walk as far away from the door as possible and make this big like arching walk around it. They could totally feel it. They didn't even want to be around that room. They were just totally picking up on that energy, because she had
shit.
that going. That's so there's a lot you can do with that as far as magic, because you can prime yourself, but you can also prime your room, prime all your materials all in advance, like Eric was mentioning, give yourself a lot more energy, which is important, because like when you first mentioned you're doing a ritual every day, I was like, man, that's not even enough time to recover, because ritual fatigue is a real thing, and did I show you this, Eric?
I don't think I saw this yet.
Is it the zombie?
I made a beefed up vampire box. All right, so here's the regular vampire box. Here's the beefed up one, and it has 7 crystals, 2 input jacks, 2 output jacks, input and output. The cases that I'm using too also have these little holes. So if you wanted to put it on the wall, you could, you know. But
Mm.
the vampire box, man, that's a lifesaver, man. That's an important machine to have.
Wow.
Yeah,
But really,
for sure.
but any machine will act as a vampire box, really, you know.
Dude,
Any
it's
machine
just
will pretty much act as a vampire box if you use it right.
the fact that those things work as well as y'all say that they do. It is just unreal. Anybody that is performing any kind of magic or rituals, I don't know why you wouldn't incorporate it. Like even just simple little things. Maybe even, I mean, is that something you can incorporate into your own like daily practice in some kind of way? Not even necessarily trying to perform some kind of outright crazy ritual.
What,
No,
radionics?
just a-
Yeah.
Yeah, so I'll take my system. Let's say I'm gonna call a spirit. I mean, I'll do my regular evocation process, do the candles and the incense, but then I'll go take the sigil that I've got for the spirit and go take it over to the radionics, blast that. As soon as I've got the frequencies locked in, just radiate them through the room so I can hear and feel it, and then come back to the ritual and it's amplified. And so yeah, you can do that, and you can and you should absolutely use it as a supplement to all of your rituals, and it is just going to add that. It adds a layer that I don't know that there's any other way that this has been able to be accessed, honestly. Like I don't know. No, okay, yeah, well, no, because even if you get into like deep yoga states and these kinds of things, it's a different thing. This is a portal, an energetic portal that you're freaking opening up. It's nuts.
Yeah.
Like, yeah.
It is completely different. Like, it's almost the same. You can almost do the same stuff with magic that you can do with radionics, but there's just some things you can do with radionics I don't think you can do with magic, you know. But ideally, you need both, you know. And I still think, for the most part, I think magic is a little faster, can be a little faster, depending on how you do it. But sometimes radionics, you know, I mean, sometimes it'll work as soon as you turn it on, but sometimes it takes a while for that thought form to build and to see it manifest. So.
Okay. Yeah, I just kind of wanted to throw it out there for anybody that was curious about how that worked and how much it was actually able to amplify your workings and all that kind of stuff. Because I think that, especially a lot of the listeners of this show, I mean, we're very open-minded. We look at things from a different point of view, not necessarily what's good, what's evil, but like how does it work? And that's, you know, I think that, you know, everybody's going to have their perspective on certain things, and I think that, you know, personally, what I've been able to do just within my own mind is, instead of labeling something good or bad or, you know, godly or demonic or something like that, I'm just look at it for what it is and what it does in that sense. And that's helped me, you know, understand it a lot more, just trying to understand it, you know, just trying to help my mind, I don't know, digest it in a sense.
We've got to use it's like we've got clunky interfaces with all of this stuff, because we're dealing with such high dimensional stuff that it's hard for our brains to even know what to do with it. And so almost all of it is concocted through, you know, even as we're talking about the you know, using magic, and these are different technologies using, you know, different symbolism to try to access so as I dove really deep into rune magic and Norse sorcery over this last year. I've written a whole book on rune magic. It'll be coming out this winter sometime. With that, I kept coming across this thing as I was studying the Eddas and the poetic Eddas and the sagas that are actually the codified, like the stories of what happened back then. And this term keeps coming up. The other side, and the other side is capitalized. The O is capitalized, and it's one word: other side. And I was like, what the fuck is this other side? So I start digging in, peeling back the layers. And that's the term that the Norse would use for everything that's not part of this normal physical world. It's all the other side. We got our side, this little tiny side, and then the other side. But that's exactly what all of these things are true, whether it's magic or prayers or you know, invocations or meditations, or all of these things are just attempts to breach through to the other side.
Yeah, that's something that we covered the Druids too. They called it the other world, you know, and so they all seem to be talking in the same realm. Some people might, I mean, could that possibly be confused with heaven even?
It could be. Well, yeah, yeah.
I mean,
Well,
not
the
to get too
truth. Did you get
religious,
into the
but
Tuatha? Did you get into the Tuatha De Danann?
we've mentioned it in passing, but never really dove too deep into it.
Oh, dude! So it's this whole civilization of people that just arrived to Ireland. They appear out of the thin air. No, 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 that's not true. So a fog falls over Ireland. The entire island is engulfed in a fog. And then as the fog lifts, it's these beautiful people that are much taller than everybody else, much more beautiful. Their skin is shining, and they have magical abilities and magical technologies. They live amongst them for multiple generations. They set up, and it's not just a couple people; it's an entire civilization of them that lives amongst the Irish for multiple generations. And then, of course, men come to do war. They're like, we got to kick these supernatural beings out of here because they're not one of us. So instead of going and going somewhere else, they disappear into the fog. And then at that point, they entered nature. And so they live amongst us in the rocks and the trees, and they're just barely out of reach. But this same story is told over and over and over again about that there's a civilization of beings much like us but better, that are around us, and they're just out of reach. They can interact with us, they can touch us, but we can't touch them.
All right, Sean, we're doing a fucking episode on that. That sounds awesome.
Let's do it. Sign me up, baby.
Yeah, dude. Well, look, we could talk to y'all literally all night, and honestly, this has been one of our longer episodes, just because it's just like whenever you're communicating with the spirits, it's like, all right, I got a question, and I already have the next question lined up, but damn, what you just said made me think a little bit deeper. So I love these kind of conversations. These are great, man. So we appreciate you guys coming and hanging out with us.
So fun, dude.
So much fun, dude. If you guys, well, actually, before we do wrap it up here, we usually do a tarot reading at the end of every episode. Usually just a single card draw. And we, even though we've been doing this for a little over 2 years now, we still rely on the handy dandy guided tarot book to give us definitions and whatnot. But Sean,
but you guys are more than welcome to give us your interpretation if you'd like. But
please.
Interestingly enough, man, we got the death card. Which, you know what? Don't be confused, because it's not a bad thing, at least to my understanding.
Yeah.
I mean, unless you want it to be represent a bad thing, you can't, right?
Well, it's interesting that we would get that card because it is the 13th card within the Fool's Journey. The Death card is... It is the ultimate transformation, a cycle of release leading to rebirth. Death is perhaps one of the most misunderstood cards in the tarot, and one that is overflowing with rich symbolism. Death appears as a skeleton dressed in black armor, riding through a scene of figures near death or already dead, holding a black flag with a flower and ears of corn on it, representing the growing and harvesting seasons that align with the seasons of our lives. A religious figure appears to plead with death, while a child and a young woman kneel nearby, both symbolizing innocence and transition. In the distance, the sun rises between the two towers, representing the conscious and unconscious mind. The skin is yellow, the color of spiritual enlightenment, as are the robes of the religious figure. The horse he rides symbolizes the freedom that arises from embracing transformation, and the fact that he is seated on his horse looking down at the religious figure suggests that spiritual enlightenment transcends traditional religious teachings. The sun rising illuminates rebirth, a contrast to death's black armor, which indicates that shadow aspects once hidden are now displayed with pride. Death is protected during this cycle of change, as well as we all are during times of transformation. Dude,
he was just talking about. Eric was just talking about the right hand path and the left hand path, and the right hand path being the more well understood belief systems and this and that. And dude, that's beautiful, man.
Perfect.
Today I was at work, and there was a power line that I was looking at, and there was like a black bag hanging from it and like blowing in the wind. But like for a split second, I was like, it almost looked like it could have been like death. You know what I mean? Just like, I don't know. It was a trip. That's what I was thinking.
You called it out there. That was,
and there it is.
Yeah.
So I'm just to give my interpretation of the card and my thoughts on the energy of death is it's often not about physical death, but it signifies that there's something that's happening that you can't change. You can't make it stop. You can't negotiate with it. The only thing that you can do is accept it or choose not to accept it, but it's happening either way. And so anything that's with that, anything that's in the past, we find ourselves obsessing about the things that we can't change. This is, it's the serenity prayer. Grant me the serenity to accept the things I can't change, to courage to change the things I can, and the wisdom to know the difference. Unfortunately, most of the things in our lives are going to fall in the first category. We can't change a whole lot of stuff, and that's one of the conundrums with Magick, is that a lot of times we'll come into it wanting to change everything. There's a whole lot of acceptance that we got to learn along the way, because there's a lot of stuff that you just can't change.
Especially when it comes to death, and you're like trying to heal someone or something, because there's all these times you can heal someone, you work these crazy miracles, but when it's time, when it's someone's time to go, there's like nothing you can do.
Right. It's just the right time. Yeah. And what's interesting, you guys bring that up, is because that the reverse meanings to the death card would be clinging to the past and refusing to change. So just the fact that it was that we got it, it was like, all right, well, that's something that we're not necessarily clinging to the past and not refusing to change, that we are open to this form of essentially like transformation in a sense. But there is a spiritual message also. It says you're in the throes of transformation of the self that may include letting go of old, worn out patterns and behaviors. This purge is creating space for new beginnings by forcing you to release the past.
Beautiful.
Wow.
See,
hell yeah.
I think, whenever we've gotten that card in the past, in the very beginning, I was like, ooh, the death card, and I think a lot of the listeners and other people that aren't so familiar with tarot, would probably think the same way, but no, it's a great card, man.
Oh, dude, it's almost like the Gnostic way of looking at it, if you really think about it, because there's the literal translation and the literal meaning of looking at it a specific way, but then it's like, how can you look at this even deeper? How can you look at it from a gnosis, like a Sophia type of understanding? And it just makes so much more sense whenever you do that, because you almost feel a lot more connected to the message that's being given at that point.
Yeah, dude, absolutely. And just to understand that there's so much more to this reality, and we're so capable of transmuting just about anything if we really want to.
Yeah, dude, it's awesome. I love this stuff. Thank you guys so much for coming and hang out with us.
I'm sorry. Let me just riff a little bit more here, because I just looked this up.
Go for it, dude.
I'm looking up the order of these cards. All right, so the order of the major arcana. So death comes right after the Hanged Man, meaning that, again, things that you can't control. There's a lot that you can't control, and even fighting to try to control those things is part of the process. You just need to give up and let go. Now, but right after that is, because here's the thing: the Death card is not the last card in the major arcana. It's like smack in the middle. So it's like, the story is not over. That's just part of it. But the next is temperance. Now that you're rising from death, now that you've let go, be careful of what you manifest from here. Be a bit more wise going forward. So anyways, I just wanted to bring that out, that the death card is far from the last card in the spread.
Oh, dude, that is perfect.
Beautiful.
And even just from my own personal perspective, that's exactly what I needed, bro. Like, on some real shit. Like, you ever notice that, like, sometimes we'll get cards and maybe we resonate with them, maybe we don't, but sometimes they just hit so damn close to home. At, like, certain times you're just like, yes, I needed that. So, yeah, I love it. I love it whenever we're communicating with the tarot in that sense. But yeah, if you guys would, first, I guess we'll go with Lord Byron. I mean, if this is anybody's first time listening to Meta Mysteries, holy shit.
Wow.
But yeah, I mean, if it's not your first time, then I can guarantee you've heard Lord Byron. But for those that don't know you, Byron, or are unaware of your work, sir, where would they be able to find you at?
My main YouTube channel is My Apotheosis. And then Instagram, Lord Byron Jester, all lowercase, all one word.
All right. We'll have that link down in the show notes below. Anybody wants to be able to go check out Lord Byron. He's the man. We love you, bro. Yeah. And also, Eric, where would they be able to find you at, sir?
Yeah. You can find my main website with all of my video courses, books, everything on it is at becomealivinggod.com. Becomealivinggod.com. I've got a TikTok, so TikTok /@EA Koetting, and then Odyssey /@EA Koetting as well. I do live chats on there, post a bunch of videos, so check me out.
Hell yeah. We'll have all
Awesome.
those links down in the show notes. We really appreciate you guys coming to hang out with us tonight. And again, super sorry about the mix up on the dates and stuff. We won't let it happen again.
But you know what? I will say this. Every time or anytime that's happened where something happens or maybe the guest calls us and says, hey, we're going to have to shoot another day. And then we do shoot. I just feel like it's such a great episode. And so I actually think that this was supposed to happen this way.
I think
You
so.
know what I mean?
Yeah.
Right? But thank
Yeah,
you guys
dude.
so much.
Thank
Yes,
you. Thanks,
dude.
guys. This has been a lot of fun.
Yes, dude. Well, yeah, we appreciate you guys, and of course, if anybody wants to be able to support the show in the best way that you possibly can, you'd come over to patreon.com/meta mysteries. That link is down in the show notes below. You'd be able to get the shows a couple of days in advance. You'd be able to listen to it completely commercial free, slide into our DMs, and watch all of the video completely commercial free from all the interruptions that you might get from that. We're also on YouTube, where you'll be able to get all the shows on YouTube as well. I mean, YouTube be YouTubing, so there's going to be ads and stuff like that. If that kind of stuff just chaps you in the wrong way, then Patreon would be the best place to go and check us out over there. We're also on Instagram and TikTok as well, if you want to be able to come and see some of the clips and whatnot. But if you don't want to do any of those, one of the easiest things that you can probably do is just give us a review and leave us 5 stars if you could. We'd really appreciate that, whether you're listening to this on the Cult of Conspiracy podcast platform or the Meta Mysteries platform. You can do it on Apple Podcasts. You can do it on Spotify. We appreciate all of the one out there that's been helping us in that way, helping us pump this show out to all the algorithms of the world. So we appreciate y'all very much. And with that being said, if Lord Byron, Jester, and the Sorcerer EA came here and they taught you anything, it's that you don't know what you don't know. So don't just get weird.
Stay weird.
Open doors inside your mind. Leave the ordinary far behind. Colors swirl and stars align. In the meta mysteries you'll find.
Oh, got me.
Got me too. Yeah.
Dude, I was in there.
Dude, like swimwear.
Dude, it's interesting. We talk about, the metaphysics of things, and we try to understand these unseen forces. But one thing that is so underestimated, dude, is the unseen force of the subconscious mind, the patterns and the ego and everything that's just intertwined as of now, making you who you are, and it's just like, if you don't stop and look at that and examine it and try to make those necessary changes, it's just going to continue, and you're not even going to know what's going on. You're just going to, like Carl Jung said, it's just going to be fate.
Yeah.
But that unseen force it's a strong one, man. It really is.
Well, and people, it really bothers me when people just look at, especially like within like older religious books and whatnot, that they're like, well, we're just humans. We're just sinners. We're just dirty rags. We're just that. We're just this. And it's like people take that on and they're like, well, I can never be like that. I could never do these kinds of things. I'm just a human. And I'm like, there's a portion of you that is. I'm not saying that there isn't, but then there's also this other portion of you that is observing, the one that is aware, the one that that it's there, but it's so subtle you barely can even catch it sometimes. That version of you that is alive in meditation whenever you get so deep. That version of you that is alive whenever you're so deep in a past life regression or a hypnotic state or something like that. Like there's something that is so much more than just plain old human. It's not even funny, dude. Like it's so there, but it's so subtle at the same time. And that's what I love about it. And that's what's so fascinating. And that's why we love meditating so often, is because that's the time where all the other chitter chatter slows down and you're able just to be with the highest version of yourself. And if that is made in the image and likeness of God, that makes the most sense right there, right?
Yeah, man. And I really love how Eric and Byron, how they were putting it, as far as like the whisper or the very subtle, almost residue that is magic. That little voice in your head that says, why did you put your wallet there? Because you know that's not where you normally put it, and you know you're not going to be able to find it later. You know, like that's a weird place to put it. I shouldn't put it there, but I did anyways. It's like that's the voice of wisdom, of Sophia, of the jinn, of the genius, of the higher self, whatever you want to call it. It's like you already have the answer. You know you shouldn't have done that, but you did it anyway. You know, you
Dude.
ignore it.
That's actually something that I think about so often too, because I'm like, all right, why am I so aware of the subtle little shit that I really shouldn't be worrying about? And it's almost like, all right, well, is this another spirit that is communicating with me? Is this just me being like hyper aware in this moment? Or is it something, you know, higher up? Is it you at the highest form at that point? So it's like, you know, in those cases, like, you know, don't set your keys here, don't set your wallet there. And you almost feel like a little schizophrenic sometimes. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Like
There's
you almost
a separation.
you almost
Right.
feel like a little paranoid because you're like, all right, my higher mind or something is telling me not to do these things or to do these things. And, you know, and it can be a little overwhelming sometimes, you know? But then there's other times where you're like, just calm down. Like, it's not telling you to go jump off a damn bridge. It's just telling you, like, maybe you shouldn't lay your glasses there, you know, like just something so simple like that. And, you know, and what I found to be the most peculiar thing about a lot of this is that it just really helps you to be present more than anything. You know, like to be
That's
in
the most important thing, man, at this point.
And
you
there was something that I'm pretty sure I've mentioned this before, but I heard it from someone else where it's like, you know, imagine you're 75 years old and really where you are right now is just in the memory of that 75-year-old person, and that 75-year-old person found a way to get in a time machine or to be able to replay the movie or something like that. And that has helped me out tremendously just in my own life, just putting myself, like making sure that if I was that guy, what would I do in this moment? If I could go back and have one last
take
chance.
advantage of it, right?
Yeah. And that's especially like prominent whenever I, like if I'm like hugging my kid, hugging and kissing my kid goodnight. You know, like just something so simple, giving them a big hug and kissing them, telling them I love them and stuff like that. It's like those moments, they are so fleeting because I have a coming up on a 3-year-old, but I also have a coming up on a 14-year-old too. And I know how fast it goes. It is incredibly, it goes so fast. It's like, it's gone before you know it. And I'm not saying, you know, it's like you have different relationships with a 14-year-old versus a 3-year-old. You know what I'm saying? And so, yeah, I think that it's important to just try and remain as present as humanly possible so that I mean, time's going to go by regardless, but to be able to cherish those little moments is so profound. And to be honest, I think like Magick kind of taught me that in a way, you know what I'm saying?
Right. Yeah. It's its own modality, man, you know, and that I don't want people to get, you know, I don't want myself even to get too caught up in, you know, what box to put that in or what is this and what is that? What do we call that? And it's like, whatever you want to call it, you know, I feel like we all experience it and, you know, just call it what you want to call it and understand it to be what you understand it to be and go from there. You know, as long as you recognize it and take those moments of hugging your kid and saying to yourself, wow, I could be just, you know, just for that example that you said, you know, in a memory of, you know, this moment that I might have missed because I was just too busy, you know, in my own head trying to figure out shit and make the money and do whatever. And it's like, it's funny because I took my daughter to go and get herself some Panda, and it's like one of her favorite things. She's like, "Oh, I love Panda Express," you know, and she was sitting there holding her food, and we had to go get food for the other kids at some other place, and she was saying, well, how did she put it? She was like, "Oh, I'm gonna like hold on to this moment because I know that like once I'm done eating this, then it's you know it's done, it's over." I said, "Well, how about you pretend that you already ate it, and now you just went back in time, and now you get to eat it again." And she went boom like that. You know, it's like just those little games that you could play with just the mind.
Oh, dude, yeah, it's awesome. Like how all that, you know, because once you understand that you are not the mind, that you can actually become in control of your mind, you can trick it all day long.
That's
dude.
it, dude.
And
That's the game.
it's not even just tricking it. So, like, here's an example. One thing that I realized, just to use the me giving my son a hug before he goes to sleep example, whenever I hug him and I'm in that moment, it's not that as far as like presence goes, you almost have to put yourself in the mindset of this is the only thing that is going on in the entire world in this moment, is this moment that I'm having with my kid. All the other things exist. Your living room's still there. You know, your other kids are they're doing what they're doing. But in that moment, the only thing that exists is your embrace with your little one or whatever it is. Like, and dude, in that sense, it makes it feel so much more powerful and so much more. There's just something more meaningful about it whenever nothing else exists in that moment, you know?
Yeah, exactly. To take that further, you know, I can't tell you how many times I've looked at pictures. You know, sometimes our TV will kind of go into like a screensaver mode, and it'll just start showing some of our photos that are on our phones. And I see pictures of the kids, and they're this big, and I'm like, wow, like I wish I could go back to that and just like pick them up, and because they were small, you could pick them up and like throw them around and kiss them or whatever. And I see those pictures now, and I'm not gonna lie, dude, it kind of makes me emotional because I can't do that.
Not
Like
that moment.
that moment is gone.
Yeah.
But then it's like, okay, like you said, take advantage of now. And that's what we got.
That's it, dude. And also, like, just as far as that whole death card, man, that really was so perfect.
On top of the synchronicity as well, dude.
Oh my
Like,
god,
that tripped me out a little bit. I was like, oh fuck.
Perfect. It was there wasn't another better card for that moment, for that conversation.
No, I don't think so.
Even just what's been going on in my life here in the past couple of days could not have been a more perfect card. And man, that's just such a powerful sentiment that we shared in that moment. I thought that was really cool.
Yeah, it was a good one, man. Like I said, I'm gonna have to go back and re-listen to it personally.
Oh, dude.
There's some good shit in there.
EA's the fucking man. Lord Byron,
man.
also the fucking man. Loved having conversation and just trying to understand how it works from a different perspective instead of just sitting there judging it. Nobody learns anything from judgment at all. Like, you are prohibiting yourself from learning anything when you are sitting there in judgment. And there's just so much more to learn rather than just, that's not what I believe, or that's working with this or that. Get past that. Just to be able to be that sponge and soak it all up to really try and understand it. And I think that he really appreciated that too, that we kind of took that angle.
Oh, absolutely, dude. Yeah, it was a great episode, man, and I can't wait to have him back, man. Both of them.
Studs. But anyhow, I guess with that being said, we're gonna wrap it up right here, and can't wait for Wonder Wiz Day now. That's gonna be a fun one too.
Yeah, man, looking forward to it.
So, all right, guys, we will see you on the flip side.
Bye, guys.
Voices drift on winds untamed, words like spells that can't be named. Close your eyes and feel the sound. Journey where